The emergence of the three legendary Grand Elders of the desolate Blood Gate, Wan Ghost Demon Lord, Blood Drinker Demon Lord, and Beast Kang Demon Lord, sent shockwaves across the battlefield. In that instant, the heavens and earth trembled. The mighty voices of the demon lords echoed like thunder, filling the air with demonic wails that reverberated across the skies. The demonic energy surged like a vast and volatile ocean, raising monstrous waves as if threatening to engulf the world. The atmosphere became eerily silent, the void filled with the howls of ghosts and the flickering of demonic shadows. It was as if the demon realm itself had descended. Looking up at the imposing figures of the three demon lords in the sky, even Jiang Chengxuan and his companions felt their hearts tremble with fear, as though they were staring directly into a bottomless abyss, one that radiated an overpowering force capable of swallowing everything in its path. This scene was even more overwhelming than when Jiang Chengxuan had faced Yun Zhuang of the Yunlin immortal clan. It was a confrontation that no one could afford to take lightly. Even Yun Zhuang himself would be in grave danger if he were here. Boom! Thunder crackled through the air, and the demonic mountain range formed by the surging demonic energy blocked out the sun and moon, casting the world into darkness. Red lightning flashed like a gaping wound across the sky. You desolate blood gates schemed against my wife and I. Even if you killed them, it would be well-deserved. In the midst of the violent storm, King Feng Xuanzun and Xiao Xuanzun stepped forward, their eyes steely with determination. Despite being the weakest of the four, they refused to back down in the face of the three demon lords, knowing they had to protect their son at all costs. Upon hearing their words, the three demon lords' eyes flashed with blood-red light. Looking down at Jiang Chengxuan and the others as though they were nothing more than ants, Beast Kang Demon Lord sneered coldly, his voice like ice from the depths of the 9 underworlds. Still daring to speak, seeking death. In the next instant, the demonic energy surrounding them surged explosively, transforming into a blinding torrent of magic that cascaded downward, like a giant demonic claw reaching out to crush everything in its path. The magic and immortal force combined into a tidal wave, and the overwhelming force felt like the very sky was collapsing under its weight. Under this terrifying assault, King Feng Xuanzun and Xiao Xuanzun felt like ants caught in a rushing current, their bodies unable to withstand such sheer power, and it seemed as if they would be crushed in an instant. Don't think you can. Yun Nenfeng's heart skipped a beat. Without hesitation, he transformed into a streak of purple light, rushing to his parents' aid. Boom! Immediately after, the tidal wave of magic energy engulfed their location, swallowing all light. The space around them cracked into pieces as the demonic energy surged, leaving behind a void of destruction. Through Jiang Chengxuan's focused gaze, he saw that the area where they had been standing had been reduced to an empty, shattered hollow. The demonic energy spiraled like a vortex, ripping everything apart within its reach. HMPH, you overestimate yourselves, daring to challenge the might of the desolate Blood Gate. Seeing the results of their overwhelming attack, the three demon lords sneered, their eyes filled with mocking satisfaction. Their expressions revealed how much they relished the impending defeat of their foes. They had been so close to crushing Jiang Chengxuan and his companions, preventing them from escaping the desolate Blood Gate. That would have dealt a severe blow to their reputation, and they were filled with fury at the thought of failure. For so many years, they had never experienced such an urgent and suppressed state of mind, yet now, everything was finally being released. No matter what, these intruders would eventually be crushed under the might of the desolate Blood Gate, becoming yet another set of bones on its long history of bloodshed. Grand Ancestors' divine might is unmatched. The demon sovereign reigns supreme over the immortal realm. Grand Ancestors' divine might is unmatched. The demon sovereign reigns supreme over the immortal realm. Grand Ancestors' divine might is unmatched. The demon sovereign reigns supreme over the immortal realm. Countless demon cultivators roared in unison, their voices shaking the very heavens. The demonic mountain range began to pulse with energy, the ground quaking as massive waves of demonic flames surged forward. Buzz! However, at that very moment, a strange hum erupted from the shattered void. Before the demon cultivators could even react, they saw an explosion of purple moonlight mixed with cyan light streak across the sky, illuminating the entire darkened world. Powerful waves of energy shot out, piercing through the overwhelming demonic energy like sharp light spears, shattering the demon lords, terrifying presence and soaring into the heavens. That's Yang Chengshuan's eyes widened in shock, his thoughts interrupted by the sudden display. Through the torn demonic vortex, Yun Nanfeng, King Feng Xuanzun, and Xiao Xuanzun emerged, their figures flying out together, each stepping on strange totemic patterns that seemed as vast as the starry sky. It was a formation, an incredibly powerful one, combining their three strengths. The resulting force was on par with a late-stage immortal realm cultivator's power. Old fool, try my Yunlin immortal sex forbidden secret technique, purple moon across the cosmos. With fierce determination, Yun Nanfeng's eyes burned like a purple moon in the sky. Leading the charge, the entire formation erupted in a burst of force. The purple moon's image multiplied and expanded, becoming a dazzling display of cosmic might. One by one, the purple moons appeared, overlapping and combining, multiplying from 3 to 10, 10 to 100, and 100 to 1,000. Each moon, more radiant and powerful than the last, filled the sky, creating a network of heavenly light that pressed down on the demonic energy below. In the next moment, with Yun Nanfeng and his parents acting in unison, the full power of the formation exploded, and countless purple moons descended, crushing the entire sky. The demonic energy was suppressed, creating a purple realm that blanketed everything. Beast Kang Demon Decision. For the first time, even Beast Kang and the other demon lords were caught off guard. They could hardly believe that Yun Nanfeng and his companions could unleash such incredible strength. Chapter 1689, Purple Moon Across the Cosmos, The Might of the Demon Lords Part 2. Fortunately, as ancient demon lords, their reactions were swift. In the blink of an eye, their expressions turned grim as they unleashed the full force of their immortal realms and demonic energy without holding back. Boom! Leading the charge, Beast Kang Demon Lord summoned surging demonic energy, which transformed into numerous ancient beast shadows that raced toward them, wreaking havoc on the void. Countless demonic claws and eyes pierced through the purple moonlight. In an instant, Yun Nanfeng collided with the incoming assault, and the resulting shockwave exploded with deafening force. The entire world seemed to tremble from this collision, and even the demonic mountain range in the heavens was shaken apart by the residual energy, sending swaths of demon cultivators flying into the void, falling into unknown realms. With the combined power of 2 early-stage immortal realm cultivators and 1 mid-stage immortal realm cultivator, this was truly an astonishing feat. This, however, was the power of Yunlin immortal sex secret technique, one of the foundations of a golden immortal level force. The formation they had unleashed was called the Purple Moon Across the Cosmos formation. Its cultivation process was incredibly demanding. The first requirement was that all practitioners must be of the Purple Moon bloodline, and their bloodline must be extremely pure. Furthermore, a key factor in enhancing the formation's power was that the practitioners needed to be blood relatives. Without a doubt, this was the secret to the immense power unleashed by Yun Nanfeng and his parents. It was rare in the ancient realms for a family like theirs, 3 immortal realm cultivators, each of them incredibly powerful. Only a few great families could boast such a feat. The cultivation method of Yunlin immortal sect, focused on the purity of bloodlines, made it possible for Yun Nanfeng, King Feng Xuanzun, and Xiao Xuanzun to combine their powers in the formation, unleashing a strength comparable to that of a late-stage immortal realm cultivator. Whoosh! The violent aftermath of the collision shook the surroundings for a while, and the spatial ripples began to subside. Under the combined might of Yun Nanfeng and his parents, the heavens slowly regained their light. The entire demonic mountain range was split open, revealing glimpses of the celestial realm behind it, with cracks spreading everywhere. Within the void, Yun Nanfeng and his parents stood tall, their forms still embedded within the purple moon across the cosmos formation. They radiated an otherworldly glow, the purple moonlight dissipating the eerie demonic energy. On the other hand, the 3 previously dominant demon lords were forced back by the impact. Their expressions grew heavy, and their eyes gleamed with fierce determination. There was no mistaking it now. This strike had shaken them, and they no longer dared to underestimate their adversaries. Though they had the strength to crush their opponents, these core disciples of Yunlin immortal sect were no pushovers. They would need to be careful, for any careless moves could lead to painful consequences. Well done, very well done. You forced me to take you seriously. Demonic energy surged once more as the heavens darkened, and Beast Kang Demon Lord, with a casual flick of his robes, spoke indifferently. This time there would be no mercy. In the next moment, the heavens trembled, and an overwhelming amount of demonic energy gathered around the three demon lords. Their immortal realms expanded, swallowing up the surrounding space and transforming it into a terrifying demonic domain. The three demon lords simultaneously summoned their immortal artifacts, each one radiating incredible power. Beast King Demon Lord summoned a demonic ring, inscribed with countless vivid beast faces. The ring seemed alive, and when flicked, the terrifying roars of thousands of demonic beasts could almost be heard, causing fear in the hearts of those nearby. Blood Drinker Demon Lord wielded a jagged sword, the blade etched with menacing faces. It looked like a hellish prison where evil spirits were trapped, waiting for the chance to break free. The ancient, withered form of Wan Ghost Demon Lord revealed a ghostly flag. Ethereal and shifting, it was surrounded by countless wailing souls chanting incomprehensible, eerie chants. With the arrival of these three powerful artifacts, the situation turned once again. The three demon lords' combined power surged to an unimaginable height, overwhelming the battlefield. As a golden immortal level force, Desolate Bloodgate clearly had its own deep reserves of strength. To make me and my companions take action together, you can die proudly knowing that you are now worthy of the underworld. In a flash, the three demon lords spoke coldly and arrogantly, and without hesitation, they unleashed their full power. The artifacts surged with energy, and their forms shattered into countless demonic figures, raining down from the heavens. With their overwhelming demonic auras, they easily pierced through the Purple Moon's defense and entered the Purple Moon across the Cosmos Formation, preparing to strike at Yun Nanfeng and his family directly. Their goal was clear: to destroy the formation from within. Such a domineering move filled Yun Nanfeng and his parents with righteous anger. They swiftly formed hand seals, causing the formation to erupt with immense power. The purple moons from the 9 heavens formed a barrage of interconnected light that hurtled toward the three demon lords. The energy quickly escalated to the level of late-stage immortal realm strength, refusing to be overshadowed. However, the three demon lords, fully empowered, were not so easily stopped. They brought all their power to bear. Demonic energy surged around them as their immortal artifacts flared. Beast King Demon Lord hurled his demonic ring into the air, and in an instant, it turned into a massive mouth, swallowing a section of the formation whole. Endless demonic energy swirled within, and in a moment, a passage was formed. From the passage, a massive, real demonic claw emerged, roaring as an ancient beast materialized from the ring. This was no mere illusion. It was a real ancient beast. As it stepped out, its gigantic form blocked the sky, with muscles so dense that it seemed capable of breaking the heavens. Boom, 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 boom. The moment the ancient beast emerged, countless purple moons descended upon it, but the explosions caused by their impact barely left a mark on its body. In fact, as the ancient beast opened its mouth, it exhaled a torrent of pure demonic energy which swept across the battlefield. In an instant, the purple moons above dimmed, turning to ashes. This strike sent the purple moon across the Cosmos Formation into a tremor. Yun Nanfeng's heart sank as he poured all his energy into stabilizing the formation, preventing it from collapsing. This ancient beast was a creation tied directly to Beast King Demon Lord's demonic ring. The two had been fused together and were far stronger than a typical ancient beast. Summoning it was akin to a 2-on-1 battle, and the power it unleashed was formidable. HMPH, eat this. Before the purple moon across the Cosmos Formation could fully stabilize, Blood Drinker Demon Lord took action, unleashing his massive sword. The sword's magic flared, and it quickly transformed into an enormous blade capable of cutting through the heavens. The sword passed through the air, leaving behind numerous grotesque faces, their mouths open in endless screams. The double assault of the magic blade and demonic energy combined, striking directly at Yun Nanfeng and his parents' immortal souls, leaving them rattled. The sword's glow blazed as it descended like a waterfall, shattering countless purple moon illusions in just a breath. Suppress them. At the critical moment, Yun Nanfeng gritted his teeth and summoned the full power of the formation again, barely managing to stop the devastating blow. However, his relief was short-lived, as the final demon lord, Wan Ghost Demon Lord, also made his move. With a cruel laugh, Wan Ghost Demon Lord raised his ghost flag, which expanded rapidly. It turned into a ghostly domain, with countless spirits falling like rain, their demonic energy swirling around them. These spirits were unlike ordinary ones. They had the power to devour the formation itself. In the blink of an eye, the purple moon across the cosmos formation was on the brink of being torn apart. Did you forget about me? At this crucial moment, Jiang Chengxuan, who had been observing from the sidelines, finally made his move. With a sudden surge, he stepped into the battlefield, surrounded by his immortal treasures. Without hesitation, he dove into the fray. The black and white treasure orb flared with power, shining like the sun at the center of the universe. It instantly eradicated millions of wailing ghosts. Chapter 1690, Fierce Battle with the Demon Lords, Trapped in an Absolute Siege Part 1. A brilliant black and white Taikai symbol appeared behind Jiang Chengxuan's immortal realm, radiating an ethereal glow. It contained unparalleled spiritual attack power, and wherever its light touched, the special ghostly spirits summoned by one ghost demon lord let out horrifying wails before disintegrating into ash, burning fiercely. As Jiang Chengxuan plunged into the battlefield like a shooting star, the countless ghosts evaporated instantly, and the pressure on Yun Nanfeng and his parents decreased dramatically. Chengxuan brother. Yun Nanfeng, feeling a surge of hope, called out with excitement. At this moment, the true turning point of the battle, the hope of overcoming the three demon lords, lay in Jiang Chengxuan's hands. That's impressive, proceed with caution. Even one ghost demon lord, witnessing Jiang Chengxuan's intervention, looked surprised. His withered face twisted, his narrow eyes narrowing as he warned the other two demon lords. Upon hearing this, Beast Kang Demon Lord and Blood Drinker Demon Lord exchanged a glance, both with uncertain expressions. Despite Jiang Chengxuan being only at the mid-stage of the immortal realm, something about his presence pressed upon them with an overwhelming sense of power. We attack together and carve out a path. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes were sharp, and without hesitation, he commanded Yun Nanfeng and his parents. He was determined to take charge of this battle. It was the only strategy left. Ding! But just as Jiang Chengxuan prepared to make his move, a cold, familiar sound echoed in his mind, and time seemed to slow to crawl. It was a prompt from the system. Please complete the achievement of escaping the desolate Blood Gate demon domain. The simple notification startled Jiang Chengxuan. Though surprised, his battle fervor soared. Without any more hesitation, the system's power receded, and the battle continued without delay. At his command, Yun Nanfeng and his parents immediately performed hand seals, activating the purple moon across the cosmos formation once again. The immense aura that followed surged, with vast immortal power coursing through the formation's intricate veins, shooting straight toward the heavens. In an instant, the purple moon seemed to ripple like reflections in water, slowly rising from the void. They collided with the vast demonic energy around them, and soon, countless purple moons formed layers upon layers, hurtling toward one ghost demon lord. Meanwhile, Jiang Chengxuan focused himself entirely on the battle, pointing his Teichu Hengmeng sword at Blood Drinker Demon Lord, as his immortal realm surged. The sword became a beam of light that shot straight upward, cutting through the sky. Boom! The massive magic energy was scattered as the overlapping purple moons soared toward their target, arriving almost simultaneously with Jiang Chengxuan's attack. Both Beast Kang Demon Lord and Blood Drinker Demon Lord's expressions hardened, and they raised their immortal treasures, retaliating fiercely. The Teichu Hengmeng sword, enveloped in the power of the Wan Shixian Shengjing Wen, clashed directly with Blood Drinker Demon Lord's magic blade. A deafening roar erupted, and the collision sent a cascade of crimson magic and purple gold light into the air. Though the Teichu Hengmeng sword hadn't yet reached the level of the Xuanwu realm, its base rank was already high, and with the aid of the Wan Shixian Shengjing Wen, it was more than a match for Blood Drinker Demon Lord's magic blade. The two demon lords' fierce gazes locked, and Blood Drinker Demon Lord, his body covered in red fur and looking almost beastly, roared. His magic sword swung wildly, leaving trails of ghostly faces in its wake. The blade was razor-sharp, tearing through the void, and the grotesque faces attached to it seemed to hold a terrifying, soul-stealing power. Despite the vicious power behind Blood Drinker Demon Lord's attack, Jiang Chengxuan did not back down. With a swing of his sword, the force of the Wan Shixian Shengjing Wen surged, creating numerous golden sword blossoms that attacked relentlessly. Boom, boom, boom. The two immortal realm cultivators clashed repeatedly, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Each explosion shook the heavens and earth, the resulting pressure almost suffocating the surrounding demon cultivators. Even Blood Drinker Demon Lord, who had been engaged in these intense exchanges, grew more serious as the fight wore on. Jiang Chengxuan, despite being only at the mid-stage immortal realm, unleashed a battle strength that was no weaker than a late-stage immortal realm cultivator. This was nothing short of miraculous. It was incomprehensible to Blood Drinker Demon Lord. Every step beyond the immortal realm was incredibly difficult, often taking millennia to achieve. The difference in each realm felt like an insurmountable chasm. However, Jiang Chengxuan had already battled Yun Zhuang, a late-stage immortal realm cultivator, when he was in the early stage of the immortal realm and fought him to a standstill. This wasn't just due to the incredible number of immortal treasures Jiang Chengxuan possessed, but also due to his immense battle experience, which far surpassed that of most cultivators. With his Bodhi Lotus Lamp, Black-White Orb, Teichu Hengmeng Sword, and Wanxi Xian Sheng Jing Wen, Jiang Chengxuan combined these treasures and techniques perfectly, allowing him to wield more power than the sum of its parts. At the mid-stage immortal realm, Jiang Chengxuan was now strong enough to hold his own against a demon lord, and this was a natural consequence of his preparation and experience. As the battles raged on, the Teichu Hengmeng Sword combined with the holy power of the Wanxi Xian Sheng Jing Wen to continue driving back Blood Drinker Demon Lord's relentless attacks. Chapter 1691, Fierce Battle with the Demon Lords, Trapped in an Absolute Siege Part 2. The battle had escalated to a catastrophic level, with every exchange shaking the heavens and the earth. Jiang Chengxuan's strength had grown even more evident as his speed and mastery over his immortal treasures allowed him to fight fiercely against the demon lords and the ancient beasts summoned by Beast Kang Demon Lord. Despite the overwhelming pressure, Jiang Chengxuan continued to press forward, launching rapid strikes and dodging with lightning speed. Each movement was like a flash of light, evading the savage attacks of Blood Drinker Demon Lord and the ancient beast. However, even with his extraordinary speed, the two demon lords were relentless. "You're finished." Blood Drinker Demon Lord growled with a sneer, his magic blade slashing through the void. The blade shimmered with demonic energy, creating ripples in space as it headed straight toward Jiang Chengxuan. As the two demon lords relentlessly pursued him, Jiang Chengxuan's every step was calculated. The pressure increased as the massive ancient beast and the combined might of the demon lords closed in, creating an unrelenting assault from all sides. But just as they were about to catch him, Jiang Chengxuan deployed one of his most powerful defensive techniques, drawing upon the immense power of his immortal treasures. With the Black-White Orb and the Bodhi Lotus Lamp, he summoned an ethereal barrier that repelled the incoming blows, briefly halting their advances. Still, he knew this wouldn't last long. The situation was growing increasingly dire. He was deep within the storm of demonic energy, the very air thick with malevolent force. Though he fought valiantly, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the encirclement closing in. "Can't escape, can you?" Beast Kang Demon Lord's voice echoed, his tone dripping with malice. The demonic mountain range in the sky shifted ominously as if responding to his command, descending with the weight of an entire army. Demonic beasts, conjured from the very essence of the demonic domain, appeared in the void, surrounding Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan's heart raced and the realization hit him. He had been trapped in a deadly net, a web of enemies too vast for him to escape from. Every exit was blocked, every path closed. "All of you end this." With a roar, Beast Kang Demon Lord raised his hand, commanding his forces to tighten the encirclement. One by one, powerful demon cultivators descended from the heavens, each one a peak immortal cultivator, closing in with merciless precision. As the demonic beasts roared and advanced, Jiang Chengxuan had no choice but to move quickly, evading their strikes with his unparalleled agility. Still, the pressure continued to mount, as the vast number of enemies was simply too overwhelming. "You're trapped, Jiang Chengxuan. There's nowhere left to run." Blood Drinker Demon Lord sneered as he closed in, his figure now joined by the other demon lords. Together, they loomed over Jiang Chengxuan, blocking off his last avenues of escape. The sheer weight of the situation was evident. For the first time in a long while, Jiang Chengxuan felt cornered, his back pressed against the wall. His mind raced, calculating his next moves. His immortal treasures were powerful, but facing three demon lords and an army of demon cultivators was another matter entirely. With a final, desperate glance at the horizon, Jiang Chengxuan steeled himself. If there was any hope of survival, it lay in taking down at least one of the demon lords, perhaps even all three. "You're brave, I'll give you that, but today you die." With that, Beast Kang Demon Lord raised his hand. sending an overwhelming wave of demonic energy crashing toward Jiang Chengxuan. The ground beneath him cracked as the very sky above seemed to tear apart. Yet as the attack surged, Jiang Chengxuan found a surge of power within him. Channeling the energy from his immortal treasures, he launched forward with incredible speed, aiming directly for the heart of the storm. Let's see if you can handle this. In a split second, Jiang Chengxuan vanished into the chaos, his figure becoming one with the storm. The battle had reached its zenith, and only time would tell whether he could turn the tide or if the forces of the desolate blood gate would prove to be too much. Chapter 1692. The Might of the Golden Immortal, Breaking Free from the Siege Part 1. The entire battlefield was consumed by chaos, a relentless storm of demonic energy. The demonic cultivators from the desolate blood gate filled the heavens and the earth, their power surging violently as they surrounded Jiang Chengxuan from all sides, leaving him no escape. The sky was darkened by the storm of demonic energy, creating a hellish scene that seemed to signal the end of the world. The air was thick with demonic shadows and blood-red light, and the surrounding space trembled under the weight of the overwhelming presence. Chengxuan, Yun Nanfeng, King Feng Xuanzun, and Xiao Xuanzun could only watch in despair, their hearts sinking at the sight of Jiang Chengxuan trapped by this vast array of demonic forces. Despite their own efforts to fortify the purple moon across the cosmos formation, they knew it would be impossible to break through the layers of demonic energy closing in on Jiang Chengxuan. Even with the formation's immense power, which could rival the strength of a late-stage immortal realm cultivator, it was as if their attacks were powerless against the encircling demonic forces. Their efforts were like waves crashing against an unmovable cliff, futile and ineffective. HMPH, no matter who you are, daring to step into my desolate blood gate and commit such an enormous crime, today you will die. Standing atop the ancient beast's head, Beast Kang Demon Lord's voice was filled with cold, unfeeling malice. His gaze upon Jiang Chengxuan was akin to that of a predator looking at its prey, devoid of any emotion. The demon lords, fully confident in their victory, issued a chilling command. Anyone who offends my desolate blood gate, kill without mercy. Anyone who offends my desolate blood gate, kill without mercy. Anyone who offends my desolate blood gate, kill without mercy. The demonic cultivators surrounding Jiang Chengxuan echoed the command with ferocious roars. Their eyes glinted with excitement as they anticipated the opportunity to kill such a powerful opponent. The thrill of slaying someone stronger than themselves, someone with a higher status, was what these demons lived for. They reveled in the thought of defeating one who dared challenge their reign. In the midst of this chaos, Jiang Chengxuan stood resolute. Despite being surrounded on all sides, his expression was calm, almost detached from the scene unfolding. His voice rang out, breaking the oppressive silence of the moment. Let me show you why I dared enter your demon domain. His voice was unwavering, carrying a tone of absolute determination. It echoed through the void, and even the demon cultivators momentarily faltered at the sound of such confidence in the face of certain death. Beast Kang Demon Lord and Blood Drinker Demon Lord exchanged glances, their eyes narrowing in suspicion. They had thought Jiang Chengxuan would crumble under the pressure, but his unwavering attitude made them uneasy. Impossible, Blood Drinker Demon Lord muttered, attempting to quell the growing unease. What power could possibly break through this situation? But despite their doubts, they swiftly commanded the demon cultivators to launch their final assault. Kill him, tear him apart. With their command, the heavens trembled as the ancient beasts roared once more, and the entire battlefield was consumed by a storm of blood-red lightning and dark demonic energy. The skies above seemed to collapse, sending a torrent of magic crashing down toward Jiang Chengxuan from all directions. The force of the attack was so overwhelming that it felt as though the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. Jiang Chengxuan stood in the center, facing the incoming storm, his expression unshaken, even as the tide of destruction surged toward him. Die! The demon cultivators lunged forward, unleashing their full array of spells, weapons, and immortal treasures. The sheer number and strength of their combined attack made the odds of survival seem slim to none. For any other immortal, it would have been impossible to withstand such a siege. But Jiang Chengxuan remained calm, his mind focused, knowing there was one final option he had left, a hidden trump card that would change the tide of this battle. He could feel the magic pouring from all directions, and though the air crackled with the raw power of the attack, Jiang Chengxuan took a deep breath, his thoughts clear. He knew that panic would not save him, only his last remaining trump card could. With a single commanding voice he called out, "Watch closely, this is why I dared enter your demon domain." At that moment, his eyes blazed with fierce determination as he activated his final weapon. A surge of ethereal energy erupted from him, and a mystical artifact appeared in his hands, the golden immortal scroll. The scroll was an artifact unlike any other, with intricate markings glowing in a mixture of cyan and white. It shimmered with a divine aura, as though it was a bridge between worlds, capable of bending reality itself. The moment the scroll appeared, the world around Xianxia seemed to hold its breath. The demon cultivators paused for a moment, their eyes widening in disbelief as the ancient artifact unfurled in Xianxia's hands. Even the two demon lords were taken aback, sensing the overwhelming power emanating from it. "Is that?" Beast King Demon Lord's voice faltered for a moment, his earlier confidence cracking. But before they could react, Jiang Chengxuan raised the scroll high above his head, calling upon the ancient power contained within. "Golden Immortal Scroll, activate." In an instant, the entire battlefield shifted. The scroll pulsed with radiant energy, and the magic that had filled the air suddenly began to distort and collapse under its immense power. The Golden Immortal Scroll, an artifact of ancient power, capable of tapping into the realms beyond the immortal stage, unleashed its true strength, creating a barrier of pure light around Jiang Chengxuan. Chapter 1693. The Might of the Golden Immortal, Escaping from Danger. With each infusion of celestial power, the Golden Immortal Scroll slowly unfurled, revealing the images within. It seemed as though time and space had come to a standstill, and an overwhelming and shocking aura slowly spread out, as if it were about to destroy the world. This sensation reached the hearts of everyone present, causing a powerful sense of heart palpitations. That is... Seeing this, the King Feng and Xiao elders' eyes widened, seemingly realizing something, while Yun Nan Feng's eyes burned with intense excitement and joy. On the other hand, countless demon immortals from the Xianxia Gate, their eyes bloodshot with rage, froze in their excitement. Boom! Before anyone could react, the golden immortal scroll opened inch by inch, tearing the heavens and earth apart. A pillar of bluish-green and pale white light shot up into the sky, shattering every inch of space it passed through. Two kinds of flames burned fiercely, and a terrifying aura surged forth, opening a mysterious gate that split the entire world. At Jiang Chengxuan's current cultivation at the mid-stage of the Xianxian realm, the golden immortal scroll opened to a level never seen before. This time, the power it unleashed was far greater than the previous time when it fought against Yun Zhuang. Boom! 9-colored lightning erupted from the gate, with deafening thunderous roars, followed by an even more terrifying force as if it had burst out from another world, devouring everything in its path. The dazzling celestial light flowed from the golden immortal scroll's gate, flooding out like a 9-colored ocean, quickly covering the entire 9 heavens and illuminating the world. The solidified demonic energy that filled every corner of the area was mercilessly evaporated. The might of the golden immortal scroll, from a distance of several miles, was already enough to completely obliterate the demonic energy in the sky. What kind of power is this, damn it? How is this possible? What is that? Just the shockwave from the golden immortal scroll alone instantly suppressed many demon immortals, causing them to freeze in place, their demonic energy shattering entirely. Before they could react, the overwhelming power of the golden immortal scroll came crashing down toward the countless demon immortals charging forward. It happened so quickly that even the Beast King Demon Lord and the Blood Drink Demon Lord, both elders of the Xianxia Gate, were caught off guard. By the time they realized Jiang Chengxuan's celestial artifact was a golden immortal treasure, they were still in shock when the celestial light, carrying the aura of destruction, reached their faces. That's a golden immortal treasure. How does he have something like this? Who the hell is this person, damn it? The two cursed in unison, a cold breath escaping from their mouths. Fortunately, as seasoned demon lords who had witnessed many bloodbaths, their reactions were still quick. They knew that there was no avoiding it and could only act with all their might to stop it. Blood Drink Demon Slash. Beast King True Art. In an instant, they activated their Daoan techniques, unleashing their full demonic power. The power of the late-stage Xianxian realm erupted, without holding back, transforming into a divine technique to strike. Two shocking phenomena manifested in the sky, and with the slash of the demonic blade, A deep abyss tore open the heavens, with countless fierce faces filling the void, radiating deep despair and destruction. At the same time, an ancient demonic beast fused with the beast Kang demon lord, its demonic energy burning fiercely. The entire body became a burning star, charging straight toward the torrent of celestial light unleashed by the golden immortal treasure. Attack together, there's a chance of survival. Don't retreat, attack with the Grand Elder. Some of the elders of Xianxia Gate also realized the danger of the situation and screamed at the other demon immortals. They gritted their teeth under the overwhelming pressure from the golden immortal scroll, combining their faltering divine techniques and celestial artifacts to strike back, shaking the heavens. Boom! Boom! Under the combined focus of everyone present, the two forces collided violently, resulting in a cataclysmic explosion that shattered the world. All the cultivators' gazes were engulfed by the blinding light, and the chaotic storm spread out, filling every inch of the void with violent destruction. From a distance, the battlefield's center and its surrounding area for 1,000 miles were all covered by the storm. The heavens and earth twisted, and chaotic forces raged in every direction. The shocking aura of the battle even reached countless demon cultivators in the immortal cities far beyond, causing them to feel a deep unease. They couldn't fathom what could have happened in that distant place to cause such a disturbance. Amid the chaos, even the purple moon Wanju formation created by Yun Nan Feng and his parents was affected, shattering under wave after wave of impact. In the storm, they barely managed to maintain their positions, unable to see the details of the battlefield. Go! At that moment, a familiar voice rang in their ears. A powerful force wrapped around the three of them, breaking through the chaos and swiftly fleeing. Chengxuan brother, are you all right? Without a doubt, it was the power of Jiang Chengxuan and the golden immortal scroll. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan was pale, wielding celestial power to lead the others to safety. In the terrifying aftermath of the golden immortal level clash, only he, using the golden immortal scroll, could move freely. In the blink of an eye, the four figures were enveloped in the power of the golden immortal treasure and vanished into the storm. Cough, cough, cough. No one knew how much time passed, but the terrifying power finally began to subside. Figures of demon immortals crawled out of the shattered, irreparable void. None of the demon immortals had escaped unharmed from this terrifying clash. All of them were covered in injuries, their robes torn apart, and their demonic energy completely gone. Some had even had half their bodies blown apart, barely clinging to life. If it weren't for Beast Kang Demon Lord and Blood Drink Demon Lord leading the others in resistance at the last moment, the casualties would have been even more devastating. After all, this was genuine golden immortal level power, far beyond what they had imagined. Damn it, it was a golden immortal treasure. They managed to escape. Cloudland immortal sex damnable traitor, I'll never forgive you. At that moment, the Beast Kang Demon Lord and the Blood Drink Demon Lord appearing in the aftermath exuded a heavy demonic aura. They too were in a terribly disheveled state, their bodies charred, their energy unstable. When they realized that Jiang Chengxuan and the others had already disappeared, they knew what had happened. However, with such power on the other side, even if they wanted to chase, it would be extremely difficult. In response, they could only let out a furious roar, venting their anger. By this time, they had already reached the boundary of the Xianxia Gate, and Jiang Chengxuan and the others had surely escaped the demon domain. If they were still in the demon domain, they would still have a chance to come back for another round. This time, we miscalculated. At that moment, the Wangu Demon Lord also appeared, his withered eyes filled with lingering fear as he spoke. Within Xianxia Gate, there were powers capable of countering the golden immortal treasure. However, before this, no one had anticipated this scene, nor had anyone been prepared to summon it. It could be said that, step by step, under their underestimation, they allowed Jiang Chengxuan and his group to escape, bringing humiliation to Xianxia Gate. In the shattered void, countless demon immortals were silent. This battle, which was supposed to be a massacre, ended in a way no one had expected. Looking at the traces left by Jiang Chengxuan's escape, they felt as if their faces had been slapped hard. As famed demon cultivators of the ancient realm, even when they united to encircle and kill, they still failed to stop a nameless junior from escaping. This was a humiliation beyond measure. Block the news. No matter the cost, find out the identity of that person. After a long silence, Beast Kang Demon Lord and the others were forced to accept the reality and gave the final order, which would undoubtedly shake the entire domain. Chapter 1694. The core of the Bodhi tree, rushing back to Xianxia. From that day onward, the demonic cultivators of the Xianxia sect fell into a state of madness. Many uninformed cultivators of the sect were suddenly ordered to search for traces of a few immortals. Anyone who could provide clues would be generously rewarded with countless resources and even granted the status of a core disciple. Thus, even without knowing the full truth, countless demonic cultivators eagerly spread across the entire Baying territory, searching for any information they could find. Like a swarm of locusts, they rampaged through every region they passed, destroying and plundering everything in their path in an attempt to uncover information about Jiang Chengxuan and his companions, throwing the entire land into chaos. Have these demonic cultivators gone insane? What exactly are they trying to do? Damn it, are you trying to turn this place upside down? The Xianxia sect seems to be up to something big lately. I wonder what's really going on. This sudden upheaval caught the attention of various forces across the Baying territory, shocking countless immortals. After all, as a golden immortal level sect, the Xianxia sect was a dominant force in the entire region. Every action they took could determine the life and death of countless sects and cultivators. Now, with the demonic cultivators of Xianxia sect making such a massive move, many celestial sects found themselves affected. Yet no one could comprehend why they had gone mad. Confused and wary, they could only probe cautiously while gathering intelligence. However, under the Xianxia sect's tight control, no one could uncover the truth. Some speculated that the sect had discovered a great opportunity. Others believed they were searching for a future demon heir. Still, some thought they were preparing for a terrifying war to test the limits of various forces. But no one could have imagined that this entire chaos had been caused by just 4 people. Or rather, it all stemmed from one man, Jiang Chengxuan. It was because he had led Yun Nanfeng deep into the heart of the Xianxia sect, rescued the demon sect's captive, killed 2 of their elders, and even managed to escape despite being ambushed by 3 powerful demon lords. This was such an unbelievable feat that even if someone revealed the truth, few would dare to believe it. How could a mere mid-stage mysterious immortal, Chinese letter, single-handedly challenge a golden immortal level sect? While the Baying territory was thrown into turmoil, the man responsible for it all had already fled to the neighboring Ligun immortal domain with his companions. This land was under the rule of Yunlin immortal sect. Although Yunlin immortal sect was also hostile toward Jiang Chengxuan and his group, at the very least within their territory, they wouldn't allow Xianxia sect's demonic cultivators to enter so easily. After all, 2 great immortal sects could not coexist in one land. If the Xianxia sect dared to march in, it would surely arouse Yunlin immortal sect's suspicions, possibly leading to all-out war. Even though some within Yunlin immortal sect had secretly colluded with the demonic sect before, publicly, no one would ever admit to siding with them. The enmity between the 2 sects originated from their golden immortal patriarchs, and until those ancestors made a move, no one dared to act on their own. This is a hidden cave dwelling that Kinger and I secretly established. Even Yunlin immortal sect knows nothing about it. We can rest and recover here, Xiao Venerable said in a deep voice. Within a grand immortal city in the vast Ligun territory, nestled within a secluded mountain range, a gentle breeze carried the rich essence of immortality through the trees. The chirping of spiritual birds and insects echoed through the lush forest, brimming with life. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, Yun Nanfeng, King Feng Venerable, and Xiao Venerable were all gathered in this hidden sanctuary. After Jiang Chengxuan had used the golden immortal scroll to escape from the demonic lands, they had traveled non-stop, following the suggestion of Yun Nanfeng's father to reach this safe haven. I've troubled you all. Exhaling deeply, Jiang Chengxuan cupped his fists in gratitude, exhaustion evident in his voice. The recent battle had drained him to the extreme. While the power of a golden immortal treasure was terrifying, each activation nearly sucked him dry. Even with the support of his personal microcosmic realm, which was as vast as an entire celestial domain, he couldn't sustain such power for long. Fortunately, by catching their enemies off guard, they had managed to escape. For that, Jiang Chengxuan felt deeply relieved. If not for you, we wouldn't have survived today. This is nothing compared to what we owe you. As long as my family is alive, we will repay this debt without hesitation." Hearing this, Xiao Venerable spoke with deep emotion, his expression filled with sincere respect toward Jiang Chengxuan. After witnessing that terrifying battle, he no longer dared to treat Jiang Chengxuan as an ordinary cultivator. Regardless of whether Jiang Chengxuan held a grudge against him, he could only act with utmost humility. "Yes, we will forever be grateful for this life-saving grace. Chengxuan I Yunnenfeng have never owed anyone anything in my life, but today I owe you my very life. If you ever need me in the future, I will gladly give up my life in return." Hearing this, Yun Nenfeng and his mother exchanged glances, their eyes shining with deep gratitude. At this moment, the fact that they could reunite as a family and experience the warmth of kinship was entirely thanks to Jiang Chengxuan. They engraved this kindness in their hearts, vowing never to forget it. There was not the slightest hint of falsehood in their words. "This is simply the right thing to do. As long as my conscience is clear, there's no need to speak of great debts." Jiang Chengxuan sighed helplessly. Along this journey, he had already experienced countless moments like this. But no matter how many times he tried to dismiss their gratitude, this family never stopped showing their sincerity. Chapter 1695. The Core of the Bodhi Tree, Rushing Back to Xunaming Part 2. Let's hurry inside and take a look. At this moment, Shen Ruyan, standing beside Jiang Chengxuan, spoke up to ease the tension. The others nodded in agreement, then stepped into the secluded forest and entered the cave dwelling. The place was no ordinary cave. It was an entire mountain that had been hollowed out and transformed into a palace. From the outside, it appeared to be just another peak, but upon stepping inside, a whole different world unfolded. Night pearls embedded in the stone walls emitted a soft, gentle glow. From the ceiling, luminous azure stones cast brilliant light, illuminating every detail of the interior. The floor, paved with redwood, extended deep into the residence in an elegant and refined manner. Artificial rock formations and flowing springs added to the scenery. The exquisitely carved beams and painted rafters made the place feel truly luxurious. Most importantly, the spiritual energy inside was exceptionally dense. A powerful formation reinforced the environment, making it feel as refreshing as a spring breeze and swiftly alleviating their exhaustion. Unconsciously, all five of them let out sounds of satisfaction, their faces lighting up with joy. It was only at this moment, as they exchanged glances, that they finally allowed themselves to celebrate their astonishing victory and survival. Ding! Just then, a cold, mechanical voice echoed in Jiang Chengxuan's mind, instantly sharpening his focus as his eyes gleamed with excitement. The system's voice continued. "Congratulations, host, for achieving the feat of escaping from the desolate blood sect's demonic domain. Reward, Core of the Bodhi Tree. This is an extremely rare celestial material, originating from an ancient Bodhi tree." Just two simple statements, yet Jiang Chengxuan felt his heart tremble, his blood boiling with excitement. The ancient Bodhi tree was a true divine treasure. The legendary Bodhi lotus lantern was once crafted using materials from this tree by a great cultivator. Although Jiang Chengxuan had never seen a Bodhi tree core before, the system's description alone was enough for him to grasp its immense value. Buzz! Before he could think further, a strange hum echoed within his inner world. In an instant within his personal dimension, a crystal-clear sapling appeared, pure white like jade, radiating celestial light. The moment it emerged, his inner world flourished with vitality. Life essence surged wildly, causing plants to grow madly, and within a 100-mile radius, everything was enveloped in its sacred aura. Meanwhile, inside the cave dwelling, the others each found a quiet spot to meditate and recover from their battle. Jiang Chengxuan, however, had already immersed his consciousness deep into his personal dimension, standing before the Bodhi tree core. As he held this sacred object in his hand, his fatigue vanished like mist in the morning sun. A tremendous force seeped into his very soul, like a nourishing spring rain. If I'm not mistaken, this is exactly what the system intended. His eyes flickered with exhilaration as he retrieved another celestial artifact. In an instant, a dazzling glow of 9 colors burst forth as an illusory divine lotus slowly unfurled, hovering in midair. There was no doubt this was the Bodhi lotus lantern. If there was anything that could perfectly complement the Bodhi tree core, it had to be this. Jiang Chengxuan understood the system's usual patterns. It always provided him with items that could be used immediately and to great effect. It was as if some mysterious force was guiding his path, paving the way for his ascension. No matter how rare or powerful an item was, the system would never grant him something useless. Thus, he naturally deduced its intent. Let's see what happens. His anticipation burned ever brighter. With utmost care, he brought his hands together, slowly merging the two sacred objects. Under his precise control, the Bodhi tree core was gradually inserted into the heart of the Bodhi lotus lantern, just like a wick in a lamp, an utterly perfect fit. It was as if the lantern had always been missing this very piece. Boom! In an instant, his entire inner world trembled. A surge of unparalleled vitality erupted, soaring into the heavens. A terrifying energy rippled outward, stirring the cosmic projection in his domain. The celestial canopy shimmered, stars flaring brilliantly, their radiance illuminating the world. An immense and boundless will seemed to descend from the vast cosmos, pouring into his inner world, converging upon the fusion of the Bodhi lotus lantern and the Bodhi tree core. Even Jiang Chengxuan found himself overwhelmed by the divine radiance, barely able to keep his eyes open. It was as if he were facing an infinite stream of flowing light. Yet within this brilliance, he could feel his entire inner world subtly solidifying, his celestial power and cultivation steadily increasing. This delighted him immensely. He quickly steadied his heart and quietly awaited the transformation. It wasn't until a long while later that everything finally calmed down. As the celestial energy dissipated, Jiang Chengxuan felt his cultivation rise significantly. He vaguely speculated that the energy infused into the Bodhi lotus lantern had partially scattered, allowing his inner world to absorb it and benefit greatly, an unexpected but joyous surprise. Buzz! Yet at this moment, Jiang Chengxuan wasn't focused on his cultivation. Instead, he eagerly turned his gaze toward the Bodhi lotus lantern. The nine-colored radiance overflowed as 9 celestial flames swirled around a translucent, glass-like lotus lamp. It exuded an aura of immense grandeur and divinity. Within its flickering flames, countless miniature worlds seemed to exist. Towering Bodhi trees swayed in the distance, while at the very core of the lamp, a tiny sacred tree stretched its branches outward, emanating an unparalleled power. It was a true Bodhi sacred tree, albeit in its infancy. Gulp! Jiang Chengxuan swallowed hard, his eyes filled with awe. Even though he had mentally prepared himself, the fusion of these two treasures had created something beyond his expectations. There was no doubt, if this Bodhi sacred tree could fully mature, it would wield unfathomable power, possibly surpassing even the golden immortal realm. From now on, you shall be called the 9 mystic Bodhi lotus lantern. After a long moment of silent astonishment, Jiang Chengxuan finally spoke, his voice tinged with excitement as he held the treasure in his hands. Later, as he returned to the cave dwelling, he immediately sought out Shen Ruyan. Together, they began exploring the many wonders of the 9 mystic Bodhi lotus lantern. Time flowed like a river, passing in the blink of an eye. In what felt like an instant, 100 years had passed. On this day, at the entrance of the immortal city, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan stood side by side with Yunnan Feng and his family, preparing to part ways. Brother Nan Feng, uncle, aunt, until we meet again, I hope you will soon clear your name. Jiang Chengxuan clasped his hands with a light-hearted smile. Hearing this, Yunnan Feng and his parents were visibly moved, their eyes brimming with emotion. They bowed deeply to Jiang Chengxuan, their voices solemn. If you ever need our help, we will repay your kindness with our very lives. Your great benevolence will never be forgotten. Now that their strength had been restored, they had carefully considered their next steps. Since Yunnan Feng had been falsely accused of treason, returning to the Yunlin immortal sect immediately would be futile. They decided to remain in this city, waiting until their sect's golden immortal ancestor returned before presenting their case. With their bloodline as proof, the truth would eventually be revealed. Jiang Chengxuan had done all he could. It was now up to them to reclaim their honor. With a final wave, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan said no more. Under the reluctant gazes of Yunnan Feng's family, the two of them transformed into dazzling streaks of celestial light and soared into the distance. Though only a century had passed, anyone with keen eyes would notice. Their strength had grown immensely since 100 years ago. For now, they had resolved everything. But they had one final crucial task to complete in the Xunaming immortal domain, before truly stepping into the ancient realm. Chapter 1696. A triumphant return, the collapse of the restriction golden immortal ruins. After resolving the turmoil caused by the desolate blood sect, Jiang Chengxuan bid farewell to Yunnan Feng and his family. Together with Shen Ruyan, he returned to this land of opportunity. Compared to the bustling scene when they had left, the ruins were now eerily quiet. Upon learning that the golden immortal's treasure had already been taken, the various factions left in disappointment, turning their focus to investigating Jiang Chengxuan's origins. Little did they know, the man shrouded in mystery in their eyes had already returned to this desolate land, and was now preparing to enter the Xianxia immortal domain. Found it husband. In this vast and solemn land, always enveloped in an eerie, sorrowful aura, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan navigated countless twists and turns before finally locating the place where they had first entered. Their original entry into the golden immortal ruins had followed the guidance of a mysterious gateway exposed by a sealed, ominous power. This gateway was located at the very edge of the forbidden zone. This doesn't look good. Soaring side by side with Shen Ruyan, Jiang Chengxuan's brows furrowed as he murmured to himself. Before them, an unsettling black sludge twisted and oozed, seeping out from a rift as though from a festering wound. This spatial gateway was directly linked to the ominous power that Jiang Chengxuan had sealed within a pseudo-immortal domain-level secret realm. A sight like this could never bode well. It was the same terrifying force that had once driven a grand immortal mad, leading to their eventual disappearance. Even with Jiang Chengxuan's rapidly rising cultivation, he dared not take this ominous power lightly. It's a pity that we couldn't uncover anything about the Forbidden Zone's ominous presence this time. They had originally entered the Forbidden Zone through this gateway, hoping to investigate clues regarding this strange force. However, due to a series of unexpected conflicts, they had made little progress. Still, Jiang Chengxuan found solace in the allies they had gained, the Yunnan Feng family, as well as the golden immortal's treasure, the Bodhi Tree Core. These newfound resources greatly bolstered his confidence in resisting the ominous force from the Forbidden Zone. Let's go, my love. Without further hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged a nod before activating the passage once more. With a wave of Jiang Chengxuan's hand, silver spatial energy rippled outward, echoing through the void in layered waves before converging upon the rift. The silver-white radiance adhered layer by layer, peeling away the sinister black sludge clinging to the rift. Gradually, under the influence of this force, space was torn apart, revealing a silvery gateway. Beyond it lay the same passage they had initially taken, a corridor resembling an ordinary mountain tunnel. However, unlike before, the passage was now shrouded in oppressive darkness, making it nearly impossible to see far ahead. Clearly, just as they had suspected, something ominous had transpired on the other side. Let's go. But this did not deter them. With a light command from Jiang Chengxuan, the two of them channeled their immortal energy and swept into the passage like a breeze. The moment they entered, an immense pressure bore down on them. A suffocating aura filled the air, and though there was no wind, eerie woo-woo whispers surrounded them. Open! Unfazed, Jiang Chengxuan unleashed his mystic realm manifestation, a grand illusion of a world appearing behind him like a mirage. The projection enveloped both of them, immediately silencing the wailing winds. Without further words, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan pressed forward. Yet as they ventured deeper, the darkness grew denser. The illumination from Jiang Chengxuan's manifestation shrank, barely extending around them. From all directions, unseen forces occasionally erupted, bombarding his mystic realm and causing it to tremble violently. The path ahead had turned perilous, fraught with suffocating danger. Everywhere they looked, there was only darkness and lurking threats. Hiss. After an unknown length of time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged glances as a chilling hissing sound reached their ears. Suddenly, at the very edge of Jiang Chengxuan's manifested realm, writhing shadows coiled and surged. They twisted into thin, creeping streams, resembling roots burrowing into the void. This was the presence of ominous power. Before their astonished eyes, the inky black tendrils silently infiltrated the protective boundary of Jiang Chengxuan's mystic realm. They seeped inside without resistance. What is this? In that instant, even Jiang Chengxuan felt a chill run down his spine, his heart seized by an instinctive dread. A grand immortal's mystic realm was akin to a fully formed world, woven together by interlaced Tao laws. It possessed immense defensive power. In battle, if an opponent could freely enter one's mystic realm, it would be akin to breaching their very core. That would spell disaster. Yet now, this eerie force had silently infiltrated Jiang Chengxuan's mystic realm, moving as if unhindered. How could this not send chills down his spine? If an enemy's power could enter his body at will, what kind of horrifying scenario would that lead to? Hiss. The eerie hissing grew sharper, echoing in their minds like a sinister melody. As if guided by some rhythm, the ominous blackness continued to spread. Within Jiang Chengxuan's mystic realm, the darkness congealed into shadowy serpents, slithering and coiling together. Their heads were featureless, eyeless yet uncannily alive. In just a few breaths, they had already. Chapter 1697, Rolling Back the Collapse of the Band Part 2. A long, trailing line had already been left in the void of the Xuan realm, heading straight into the depths of the Xuan realm. Manifesting eternal sainthood. Jiang Chengxuan, of course, could not allow this to happen. He quickly recovered from his shock, chanting sutras with incredible speed. Instantly, a brilliant and divine golden radiance illuminated his body. Under his control, golden symbols appeared one after another in the Xuan realm, intercepting the dark poisonous snakes that emerged from the eerie blackness. Soon, a stream of golden light began to gather, and golden symbols intertwined to form a vast sea of gold. This sea of gold stretched out, obstructing the bizarre black line that continued to extend, making it impossible to cross. Sacrifice. This was Jiang Chengxuan's domain, the Xuan realm, and in this place, his strength could even exceed that of the outside world. With a single thought, countless golden symbols surged like golden fish leaping from the sea, churning the waters, creating golden mist, and charging toward the eerie black poisonous snakes. Hum hum hum. In an instant, two forces clashed with incredible agility. The deafening hum echoed as they began to devour each other. The dark, blind, poisonous snakes and the golden fish twisted and turned in a primal struggle, attempting to consume one another. It was as though countless long lines of gold and black were entangled on a canvas, forming a chaotic scene. Boom, boom, boom. The two forces clashed fiercely, and the battle between them spread across the Xuan realm like a war zone. The eerie dark power continued to pour in, turning into more and more poisonous snakes, which fought desperately with the golden fish summoned by Jiang Chengxuan. Soon, both the black poisonous snakes and the golden fish from the Eternal Sainthood Sutra suffered tremendous casualties. Countless golden and black fragments flew through the air, burning with golden and pitch-black flames, engulfing the entire sky in a magnificent spectacle. The two forces were relentless, constantly crashing into each other. The endless roar of their collisions reverberated across the realm. Submit. Fortunately, with Jiang Chengxuan's current strength, he had already surpassed his former self. Finally, he turned his hand, suppressing the invading eerie darkness. The golden fish gathered into a vortex, surrounding the black poisonous snakes like a snake's den. Then he directly suppressed them, erasing them into a cloud of black flames that dissipated into nothingness. This eerie dark power. It actually has this kind of supernatural ability. Jiang Chengxuan let out a long breath, murmuring to himself with a heavy gaze. Earlier, when he suppressed this dark power, it hadn't revealed the ability to infiltrate the Xuan realm like this. The sudden appearance of this trick surprised him. He vaguely suspected that the previous Xuan immortal might have been infiltrated by this eerie dark force, causing some issue in the depths of the Xuan realm, leading to the subsequent events. "My lord, are you all right?" At this moment, Shen Ruyan also breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly asked Jiang Chengxuan. Without pausing to think about it further, Jiang Chengxuan regained his focus and gave her a reassuring glance. The two did not stop there. Instead, they continued moving deeper into the tunnel, pressing on through the long, dark path. In this endless darkness, time lost all meaning. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had no idea how long they had been walking. After a series of snake waves attacking them, they finally reached the end of the deep passage. There, a brilliant light shimmered, precious beyond measure. Without hesitation, the two gathered their strength, and THEIR Chinese letter immortal power surged, turning into an immortal light as they sped toward it. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding world grew bright, and the two appeared in a vast realm, deep within the familiar pseudo-immortal domain secret realm. "My lord, the ban is still intact." Not far ahead, The sealing ban Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had set before they left remained completely unharmed. The towering mist wall still glimmered with countless golden symbols, displaying heavy, mysterious phenomena, standing like a mountain as if nothing had changed, just as it had been when they left. Something's wrong. Someone tampered with the ban. However, Jiang Chengxuan's senses instantly sharpened, and his expression darkened, his brows furrowed tightly. Although the ban appeared identical as its master, he could clearly sense subtle changes. It was already different in ways he couldn't ignore. Hum. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze became fierce. Without hesitation, he activated his Xuan realm to its fullest. A vast, magnificent vision unfolded, resembling the arrival of another world, with overwhelming, domineering power filling the air. Simultaneously, the symbols from the Eternal Sainthood Sutra spread across the realm as the Xuan realm's manifestation expanded, turning into a golden canopy that enveloped the surrounding area. Boom! In that instant, a violent tremor and deafening roar exploded in the air. A series of massive cracks suddenly tore open in the towering mist wall, and endless black fog surged out from the gaps, rising into the sky. Be careful! Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan quickly shielded Shen Ruyan behind him. She was still in shock at the sight. As the surrounding world seemed on the brink of collapse, with space churning and the eerie darkness twisting, everything was soon swallowed up by the dimness. Only then did Shen Ruyan realize. This is the eerie dark force's trickery. Yes. Jiang Chengxuan nodded, his eyes betraying an undeniable shock. With their return, he could feel the terrifying power of this dark force more than ever before, far surpassing its previous form. While before, this eerie darkness had felt like a dominant, supreme force capable of destroying and devouring everything, now it seemed strangely elusive, its true nature hard to grasp. Clearly, before their return, this dark force had already corrupted the interior of the ban. Yet, it seemed to have intentionally disguised it as a trap, maintaining its original appearance until the opportune moment to erupt and break free. If Jiang Chengxuan hadn't been meticulous in his planning, they might have fallen victim to this dark power's ambush, caught off guard. What is this thing? How does it possess such intelligence? Looking around as the dark power ravaged the golden canopy, with fierce winds howling and black mist surging relentlessly, Shen Ruyan frowned in astonishment. Before they could think further, in the span of a moment, the sealed eerie dark power had broken free entirely, enveloping the outside of Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm, and then charging toward the two of them. The enormous dark force descended like an all-encompassing night, an ocean of darkness crashing down without mercy, aiming to destroy everything. Wherever it passed, the void shattered, and an unimaginable will to annihilate followed closely behind the spreading shadows. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan raised both hands to the sky, and his Xuan realm erupted with nine-colored light, expanding violently. The power of the Xuan realm surged to confront the incoming tide of darkness. True to form, the eerie dark power, just like before, easily slipped through the walls of Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm, almost like an invisible wind. It avoided Jiang Chengxuan's first wave of resistance, carrying immense power, and collided head-on with the rushing force of the Xuan realm. Boom! The collision of these two immense forces triggered an earth-shattering explosion, the shockwaves spreading through the entire Xuan realm as it trembled violently. Jiang Chengxuan could feel that this eerie dark power had grown much stronger, for some reason. At this moment, he was in the mid-stage of the Xuan immortal realm, far stronger than when he was in the early stages of the Xuan realm, yet the two forces were still vastly unequal. Chapter 1698, The Power of the Nine-Wonder Bodhi, Suppression Once Again Part 1. A more powerful wave of ominous darkness surged back, seizing the opportunity while Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were absent from the Xuanming immortal domain. It had meticulously set up a disguise, patiently awaiting their arrival. At this moment, the entire pseudo-immortal secret realm was swiftly swallowed by darkness. The sun and moon seemed to reverse in an instant, and the entire realm plunged from daylight into an endless night, silent and ominous. The pseudo-immortal secret realm, though slightly smaller than the Xuanming immortal domain, was now completely overshadowed by the terrifying expansion of the ominous darkness. A suffocating aura of destruction and oppression descended, heralding the arrival of doomsday. All living beings within the secret realm felt an overwhelming sense of dread. They fled in fear, gazing up at the darkened sky with terrified eyes. Among them were not only the native beasts and creatures of this realm, but also cultivators who had previously ventured into the secret realm and found themselves trapped. What is happening? What's going on in the depths of the secret realm? Is another catastrophe about to descend? How is my fate so miserable? Even in imprisonment, I can't find peace. As they stared at the spreading darkness that covered the sky, despair filled their hearts, and murmured grievances escaped their lips. Being trapped in the secret realm was already an extraordinarily unfortunate fate, as the next opening might not occur for tens of thousands of years, long enough for the world outside to change beyond recognition. Not to mention, the realm had previously suffered from the calamity of the white bone catastrophe, which had left these cultivators in lingering fear for a long time. Now, with the ominous darkness returning once more, they could only sigh at their unprecedented misfortune. In the cultivation world, this was the reality for the vast majority, mortals without the protection of destiny, doomed to be swept away by fate. Boom, boom, boom. At the core of the secret realm, the pitch-black ominous darkness condensed into a vast ocean, its violent roars shaking the heavens. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were now completely surrounded. At this moment, they resembled a lone, flickering star on the verge of being pulled into a black hole. The terrifying force from all directions exerted an unimaginable pressure, causing the very fabric of space to twist and fracture. The brilliance emanating from Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm was compressed to its very limits. Amidst the encroaching darkness, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes turned solemn, and his fighting spirit surged to its peak. Manifesting eternal sainthood, Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern Sacrifice. In an instant, his thunderous voice echoed as boundless immortal power erupted from the Xuan realm, forcibly carving out a domain of light. Simultaneously, countless golden symbols emerged within the secret realm, blooming in rippling waves. Visions of countless illusory planes appeared, like reflections of a vast and infinite cosmos. Within the sea of golden symbols, a radiant, nine-colored divine lotus swayed and blossomed. At its core, nine-colored flames burned steadily, while an ancient, verdant phantom of a bodhi tree extended its branches, exuding an aura of boundless majesty. A sacred presence intertwined with an overwhelming sense of dominance. The fusion of these two forces triggered an unfathomable burst of power. With a single wave of Jiang Chengxuan's hand, both supreme Xuan immortal artifacts unleashed their might, sweeping outward in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Like a star spinning against the gravitational pull of a black hole, the two forces clashed in the most violent manner. Thunderous explosions filled the sky as blinding bolts of pale lightning tore through space, sending shockwaves that surged like tidal waves. In an instant, Jiang Chengxuan forcefully disrupted the ominous darkness, carving out a massive sanctuary of light that illuminated the heavens. The upgraded Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern was now displaying a power level nearing that of a golden immortal treasure. However, unlike the offensive might of a golden immortal-grade artifact like the Golden Immortal Scroll, the Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern excelled in protection and resilience. The Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern, it truly lives up to expectations. Even Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. He murmured to himself, eyes blazing with anticipation. This treasure held limitless potential. Within it, a young Bodhi ancient tree was growing. In the future, it would become even more formidable. As the aftershocks of the first clash dissipated, the surrounding ominous darkness seemed to slow, clearly affected. It was evident that Jiang Chengxuan had taken the upper hand in this brutal exchange. The sinister dark force hesitated, seemingly doubting whether this opponent was truly the same one who had suppressed it last time. How could he have become so much stronger in such a short time? Jiang Chengxuan wasn't the only one wondering about this change. Even the eerie darkness itself was uncertain and wary. But this battle could not end in a mere standoff. There was no room for negotiations between the two sides. In the next moment, the ominous darkness surged once more, sending waves of terrifying energy into the air. An unimaginable force gathered, causing the black hole-like abyss to churn violently. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In an instant, countless streaks of ominous black energy shot forth from every direction. Like a storm of dark arrows, they blotted out the sky and rained down upon Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. This overwhelming volley left deep, abyssal trails in the void, as though a massive black firework had erupted in the heavens, a chilling and awe-inspiring sight. In mere moments, the countless black arrows arrived, more sinister and deadly than the serpents from before. Effortlessly, they pierced through the barriers of Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm, tearing into its inner sanctum. Instantly, the sky within the Xuan realm turned pitch black, as if consumed by an endless void. These black arrows were faster, more powerful, and far deadlier than anything before. If they were allowed to land within the Xuan realm's core, the consequences would be unimaginable. No matter what, Jiang Chengxuan would never allow them to strike their mark. Chapter 1699. The Power of the Nine Wonder Bodhi, Suppression Once Again, Part 2. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Chengxuan did not hesitate to summon the Nine Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern once again. His avatar appeared in the Xuan realm, standing alone to face the massive arrow storm that darkened the sky. With a sweeping motion of his hand, the Nine Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern, burning with 9-colored immortal flames, was tilted. An explosion of brilliant light immediately poured out of the lantern, quickly transforming into a vast sea of 9-colored mist. This mist expanded across the sky of the Xuan realm, growing violently with the wind, forming into waves of clouds. The 9-colored cloud waves surged upwards, the immortal light within them gleaming brightly, their power formidable as they began to suppress the countless black arrows heading their way. The two forces collided in an instant. A burst of intense heavenly light erupted, engulfing everything around it, making it feel as if daylight had suddenly descended upon the world. The ominous black arrow rain was submerged by the 9-colored immortal mist. Where the two forces met, violent waves surged, each ripple exploding and shaking the entire Xuan realm. Jiang Chengxuan continued to channel the power of the Xuan realm, feeding it into the Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern. The Bodhi tree within the lantern swayed, producing more immortal mist, which spread further. In response, the ominous darkness refused to back down. It continuously spawned more black lines, turning them into black arrows that shot at Jiang Chengxuan. Beneath the rolling cloud waves, countless black arrows were snapped and obliterated each second. The black lines were halted mid-flight within the immortal light, leaving behind a scene of tragic grandeur. Ding! At this moment, when the battle had reached its peak intensity, a voice suddenly echoed in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. It sent a tremor through him, as he hadn't expected this at all. It was a message from the system. Please, host, achieve the accomplishment of repelling the ominous darkness. Without pause, the system issued a new task, signaling its utmost importance in this battle, aiming to spur Jiang Chengxuan into action. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan felt a surge of excitement, his eyes becoming even sharper. Light the lamp. In that moment, a sudden insight hit Jiang Chengxuan, as he seemed to hear a call from the Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern. With a simple command, the treasure lotus in his hand became illusory, like crystal glass. Its internal energy trembled, and an overwhelming pure force erupted. From within the lantern's wick, the immortal mist that had been pouring out began to boil, and a beam of spiritual light shot forth, igniting the mist that had been dissipating. Boom! In an instant, the 9-colored mist that had filled the sky of the Xuan realm ignited into a raging inferno of 9-colored immortal flames, creating a vast sea of fire. Within that overwhelming power, a sense of destruction rose, as if everything would be burned away, rivaling the ominous darkness itself. This shift made the conflict within the Xuan realm more brutal. A series of explosions rumbled non-stop, and the blazing light completely consumed everything. Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm was submerged in an aurora, turning everything pale. Be suppressed. Amidst this chaos, Jiang Chengxuan shouted furiously. The power of the Xuan realm surged forward, pushing the vast sea of fire inch by inch, relentlessly suppressing the ominous dark force, pushing it back. With the aid of the Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern's power, Jiang Chengxuan felt more invigorated than ever. He engaged the strange, eerie force head-on, continually pushing it back. Roar, roar! This overwhelming push naturally provoked the anger of the ominous darkness. It refused to be directly suppressed by Jiang Chengxuan and began to unleash waves of chaos, attempting to resist the Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern. The entire black hole-like existence was activated, sending wave after wave of ominous darkness into Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm, roaring like an unstoppable river. However, Jiang Chengxuan's power, bolstered by the Nine-Wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern, was far beyond what the darkness could have anticipated. Even against the entire black hole's strength, he remained fearless and continued to suppress it inch by inch. Buzz! Finally, with a strange humming sound, clear and melodious like a phoenix's cry, the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern released an overwhelming aura, expelling all of the ominous darkness from the Chuan realm. At the same time, this power pierced through the boundary of the Chuan realm and plunged into the secret realm, into the vast swirling darkness surrounding it. In an instant, it was as though dawn had pierced through the black night, shining brightly and forcibly opening up a vast expanse of light within the black hole. The violent, ominous darkness was pushed to the edges of the realm. Within the pseudo-immortal secret realm, countless beings felt the arrival of a mighty force. They gazed at the far-off sky, where suddenly a brilliant halo appeared in the blackness, illuminating the entire world. From this, they felt warmth and reverence, and many dropped to their knees in prayer, hoping the night would end. Though they didn't understand what had transpired, they could clearly feel the gentle might of the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern. Buzz! At this moment, an unexpected force suddenly joined the battle, catching Jiang Chengxuan off guard. As the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern's power reached its peak, suppressing the ominous darkness, a will from the heavens seemed to descend upon the battlefield, suddenly increasing Jiang Chengxuan's strength. This is the will of the world. Jiang Chengxuan paused for a moment, but quickly understood the source of this power. It was the world consciousness of the pseudo-immortal secret realm itself. It seemed that in this moment, the secret realm's innate consciousness sensed an opportunity and decided to lend Jiang Chengxuan a hand. After all, this realm had been born from the ancient world of the Chuan immortal. Both Jiang Chengxuan and the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern had inheritances from the Chuan immortal, so the connection was deep. Truly, they were considered to be of the same kin. Boom! With the arrival of this world consciousness, Jiang Chengxuan felt as though divine assistance was at hand. Originally, he had planned to slowly wear down the ominous darkness, but now, with the boost from the world consciousness, he decided to directly suppress it completely. As the energy from the world consciousness flooded into him, more immortal power flowed into Jiang Chengxuan's body and poured into the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern. It was as though the Chuan realm's power had joined forces with him, pushing his strength to an unimaginable level. Nine-wonder Bodhi, sacrifice. Jiang Chengxuan's expression became solemn, and with a mighty gesture, he raised the lotus high. In an instant, an incredible force merged into the lotus, and a terrifying aura erupted, shooting up into the sky. The halo that had been forcing the ominous darkness to the edges of the realm suddenly expanded, becoming immensely thick, and continued to push towards the remaining darkness. With a deafening roar, the darkness that had enveloped the entire secret realm began to retract, forced back to its origin. The sky cleared, and nine-colored light continued to shine, bringing divine warmth to the world. At the final moment, Jiang Chengxuan shouted, and with a boom, the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern's radiance devoured all the ominous darkness, turning it into fuel for the lantern's wick. In the subtle distance, Jiang Chengxuan seemed to feel the Bodhi tree inside the lantern grow several inches, as the immortal light grew even more intense. Clearly, the suppression of the ominous darkness had allowed the Bodhi Lantern to absorb a fraction of its power, promoting its growth. What a treasure! Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, a joyful expression appearing on his face. Husband, the ominous darkness has been suppressed. At his side, Shen Ruyan, who had witnessed this earth-shattering battle, also spoke with relief. Upon hearing her, Jiang Chengxuan nodded, but he still had a feeling that something wasn't quite right. The battle wasn't over. I feel like the great calamity isn't over. Let's hurry back and check. He spoke candidly to Shen Ruyan, who also grew serious at his words. She trusted Jiang Chengxuan's instincts, knowing this catastrophe was far from over. Without further hesitation, the two of them took a brief moment to rest before preparing to leave. Chapter 1700, Ascending to the Xuan Realm Object, Returning to Xunaming, Part 1. Because of Jiang Chengxuan and the nine-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern's overwhelming power, the ominous darkness that had erupted once again was suppressed, and the entire pseudo-immortal realm's secret land regained its clarity. The vast sky, once thick and dark like the depths of an ocean, receded like a retreating tide. Daylight once again rose, and in the blink of an eye, light bathed the land. Countless beings cheered in joy. Although they didn't fully understand what had transpired, they could sense the oppressive atmosphere fading, and peace returned to their hearts. At this time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan transformed into streaks of mysterious light, soaring through the void. This naturally caught some attention, but their figures soon disappeared, vanishing from sight. After a brief period of adjustment, they left the core of the pseudo-immortal secret land. Due to Jiang Chengxuan's unsettling premonition, they decided to conduct a thorough search of the secret realm to ensure that no remnants of the ominous darkness remained hidden, leaving behind any potential threats. After all, during the direct confrontation, the ominous darkness had displayed a strange form of intelligence that shocked them both. Not only had it learned to disguise itself, but it also had mastered the art of ambush, far from being a mere inanimate force. "How is it, husband? Do you feel anything?" The two figures flickered like lightning, swiftly crossing the majority of the secret realm in a matter of moments. Within the retreating clouds and mist, Shen Ruyan softly inquired. Jiang Chengxuan, however, frowned and shook his head. He halted midair, his tone solemn as he said, "No signs of ominous energy, but my premonition hasn't dissipated." He had swept through nearly the entire secret realm with his senses, but he hadn't detected any traces of dark energy. Despite this, he didn't feel any sense of relief. "Let's go back for now." For the time being, Jiang Chengxuan was at a loss for how to proceed. He could only take things one step at a time. Without further hesitation, he waved his hand, opening a mystical door in the void in front of them. The two of them disappeared through it. The next moment, a surge of radiance swept through, and after shimmering with immortal light, they appeared in the Xianxia immortal domain. As they inhaled the long-missed aura of the world, although it seemed barren compared to the ancient world, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't help but feel their spirits lifted. Their eyes sparkled with joy, sensing the familiar energy of their homeland. Before long, they were once again soaring through the sky, causing spatial ripples with each step, flashing through the void, until they arrived in the western continent of the Xianxia immortal domain. Compared to their initial arrival, the western continent had undergone a dramatic transformation. It had now become the central hub of the entire Xianxia immortal domain. Majestic and towering immortal cities rose from the ground, attracting tens of thousands of cultivators who flocked here to cultivate. Numerous immortal sects went to great lengths to secure a foothold in the western continent. As a result, the immortal sects that had already established themselves in the region had seen their status rise significantly. Large-scale immortal Dao conventions were held frequently, drawing crowds of people. Among them, the scattered cultivators alliance was at the forefront, holding the dominant position in the Xianxia immortal domain. When Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to the scattered cultivators alliance, the newly rebuilt mountain gate, following the recent battle, was even more magnificent than before. The towering halls reached the heavens, immortal peaks lined the land, and the place exuded an atmosphere of peace and grandeur. All of this was slowly progressing under the governance of Yuan Hanzianren, Qin Shenwu, and other prominent figures. "Chengxuan Ruyan, you're back." "Chengxuan, my brother, Fairy Shen, when did you arrive?" Their return did not cause a big commotion, nor did it disturb the entire scattered cultivators alliance. Only a few core elders knew of their return to the immortal sect. After exchanging pleasantries, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan greeted the elders warmly, with no sense of distance between them, and they had a long-awaited reunion, talking about all that had transpired during their absence. Facing the curious gazes of the others, Jiang Chengxuan didn't choose to hide anything further. He decided to reveal the existence of the ancient world to Yuan Hanzianren and the others. Above the immortal domains, there is an even grander new world. This truly opens our eyes to what unimaginable grandeur such a world would hold. For a time, Yuan Hanzianren and the other elders were stunned, their mouths agape as their hearts raced with excitement. To cultivators, the ancient world was truly a sacred place, something everyone yearned for. Furthermore, the ancient world was not exactly a secret. However, because no celestial immortal had appeared in the Xianxia immortal domain for tens of thousands of years, the information about it had been lost. Now, Jiang Chengxuan was merely redistributing this knowledge to the generations that followed. I leave these resources with you. If there's ever a chance, you'll be able to explore it for yourselves." Facing the shock of the others, Jiang Chengxuan smiled lightly, taking several treasures from his Qian realm and placing them on the grand hall floor. In an instant, a rich and powerful aura emanated from the treasures, causing the entire world to glow with ethereal light. The energy was extraordinary. These were several heavenly source objects and other treasures that could be used when breaking through to the celestial immortal realm, enough to support 2 to 3 breakthroughs to that level. After ascending to the Xuan immortal realm, Jiang Chengxuan found obtaining such items within the ancient world much easier. It was no longer a life-or-death struggle like before. This was why, as one's cultivation increased, entering the ancient world became increasingly necessary. Here's this. Naturally, Yuan Henzionren and the others were deeply shaken, momentarily speechless. Especially Yuan Henzionren, who had reached the late-stage Earth immortal realm, was now the most likely candidate to break through to the celestial immortal realm next. Chapter 1701, Ascending to the Xuan Realm Object, Returning to Xunaming Part 2. You can use these with peace of mind. In the ancient world, such items are not rare. Shen Ruyan spoke calmly, comforting the others who were still in shock. As a result, within the Grand Hall, Qin Shenwu and the others exchanged glances before carefully putting away the treasures. Qin Shenwu then said, "In that case, we'll accept these. If anyone in the sect is able to break through to the celestial immortal realm in the future, they may take these treasures." Upon hearing this, the elders felt a surge of excitement. With these treasures and the knowledge of the ancient world, they felt that the dormant flames of their ambition were reignited. The once unreachable realm of the celestial immortal now seemed within the realm of possibility. Aside from this, there may be some events happening soon in the Xunaming immortal domain. You all need to be cautious. Finally, Jiang Chengxuan informed everyone of the potential calamity that might occur. He shared some possible scenarios and methods to handle them, and with that, the reunion came to an end. Afterward, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan bid farewell to the elders and returned to their own secluded chambers. After accumulating a period of cultivation, they both needed to undergo a brief retreat for further advancement. Shen Ruyan, with the help of the 9-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern, was preparing to attempt breaking through to the middle stage of the celestial immortal realm. As for Jiang Chengxuan, he slowly sat cross-legged in the air within his chamber, taking out a glowing talisman. This was the reward from the system that he had obtained after suppressing the ominous dark disturbance, completing the system task. Jiang Chengxuan was quite familiar with this item. It was yet another Xuan Realm Ascension talisman. The talisman's purpose was clear. It could elevate a celestial immortal object into a true Xuan immortal object. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan decided to use it on the primordial Hengmeng sword, which, aside from the golden immortal treasure and 9-wonder Bodhi Lotus Lantern, was his most powerful weapon. Although the sword had not yet reached the level of a Xuan immortal object, it had already helped him overcome many battles. This time, he intended to further elevate its power. Xuan Realm Protection. Exhaling deeply, Jiang Chengxuan manifested his Xuan realm, slowly enveloping the entire chamber, ensuring that the ascension process wouldn't cause any catastrophic backlash. Now, as a true Xuan immortal, he needed to be extremely careful. Any mishap could cause massive destruction to the entire scattered cultivators alliance. Thus, during the ascension process, he had to proceed cautiously. Xuan Realm Ascension Talisman, activate. Having received several system rewards in the past, Jiang Chengxuan was no stranger to ascension rituals. He took the sword, which radiated a purple glow, and positioned it in front of him in the void. Without hesitation, he raised his 2 fingers, holding the talisman upright in front of him. With a soft chant, immense immortal power surged into the talisman. An astonishing force erupted from it, releasing an ethereal, almost primordial energy. The energy, shimmering with a chaotic color, streaked through the air in an arc and entered the primordial Hengmeng sword. In that instant, an overwhelming aura manifested, with 9 colors of immortal light flashing across the sword's long body, illuminating the entire world. The Xuan realm trembled from the immense force, and the heavens hummed with power. The purest of energies continued to erupt from the talisman, washing over the sword repeatedly, again and again, as if refining it in an endless cycle. Despite his high cultivation, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't discern the origin of this power. It seemed to come from the system itself, incomprehensibly vast, as though it were the very essence of the universe. Under the continual flow of immortal light, the primordial Hengmeng sword began to shed its purple hue, becoming more simple and unadorned, like a sword from a painting, filled with emptiness. But at that moment, a supreme, intangible will pierced through the void and descended upon them. Buzz. In the blink of an eye, the radiant light surged. The primordial Hengmeng sword exploded with incredible purple energy, like the birth of a great sun. From this moment on, the force emanating from the talisman no longer refined the sword. Instead, under the influence of that higher will, it merged and fused into the sword's body. It was as if, in the deepest of mysteries, some hidden presence was forging this sword for Jiang Chengxuan. Soon, the primordial Hengmeng sword was completely enveloped by the immortal light, transforming into a glowing orb. Within it, an overwhelming aura surged, making the air tremble. Jiang Chengxuan waited in anticipation, quietly feeding it with Xuan realm power to accelerate the refining process. Everything continued, until a certain moment arrived when the process had fully completed. As the intangible will in the void began to fade, Jiang Chengxuan knew the time had come. Open! After waiting patiently, Jiang Chengxuan opened his eyes and shouted, unleashing his Xuan realm to its maximum potential. In the next moment, a powerful purple energy erupted, creating a purple-gold galaxy that surged defiantly toward the boundary of the Xuan realm, crashing violently into the realm's barrier, causing a shockwave that rippled through the heavens. The misty purple energy turned the sky into a breathtaking spectacle, with sharp sword intent cutting through the void, creating deep chasms in the sky and unleashing waterfalls of purple energy that obscured the sun. Jiang Chengxuan focused his mind, remaining calm and composed, using the power of his Xuan realm to prevent the residual waves from spreading. After a brief moment, everything settled, and Jiang Chengxuan saw the result of the ascension. The primordial Hengmeng sword now shimmered with a stream of light, resembling a pure ray of dawn, carrying a slight purple hue. It displayed an ethereal and vast aura in the most graceful form. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but smile in delight. He beckoned, and the sword transformed into a long rainbow, floating into his hand like holding a beam of light. A divine, authoritative aura emanated from the sword, far stronger than before. In that mystical forging process, the sword had gained a new will, becoming even more attuned to the primal source of the universe, resembling the sacred texts of all the worlds, yet also infused with a sharper, more destructive force. This sword can dispel all the darkness in the world. Jiang Chengxuan murmured to himself, feeling a surge of excitement, his eyes burning with passion. After admiring the sword for a moment, he left the chamber with his newly ascended treasure in hand. First, he went to check on his beloved wife's progress. Seeing that she was still in the midst of her breakthrough, he decided not to disturb her. Without further delay, Jiang Chengxuan, still preoccupied with the impending calamity, activated his Xuan realm and turned into a streak of light, vanishing into the horizon. Suddenly, he recalled that, although the ominous dark force had been cleared from the pseudo-immortal realm's secret land, there was no guarantee that the Xuanming immortal domain was free from it. Perhaps, he thought, he should cleanse the entire Xuanming immortal domain to be certain. And so, Jiang Chengxuan began his journey, soaring across the entire Xuanming immortal domain. He started in the western continent, moved toward the northern continent, and then explored the surrounding areas. As he did, a strange sensation emerged. Upon reaching the northernmost edge of the Xuanming immortal domain, he suddenly felt an odd disturbance at the borders. Something is disappearing. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed in concentration as he gazed into the distance, muttering to himself. He sensed that the edge of the northern continent was slowly shrinking. Whoosh! Without a moment's hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan shot forward like lightning, heading toward the source of the anomaly. Passing through several immortal cities and mountain peaks, the scenery around him grew increasingly barren and desolate. Soon, he arrived at a remote area, the northernmost region of the Xuanming immortal domain, known as the Void Ice Plains, the very edge of the realm leading into the void. That is, standing atop the vast ice plains, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze pierced through the towering ice peaks. Under the black sky, he saw something in the distance. Chapter 1702, The Collapse of the Immortal Domain, Tremors in the Northern Continent Part 1. The Void Ice Plains marked the very edge of the Xuanming immortal domain. At its borders lay an endless expanse of the void, where anything that fell in would be swept away by powerful spatial turbulence, carried off to an unknown place. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan stood in midair over the Void Ice Plains, his gaze sweeping over the vast landscape. For miles around, everything was covered in a blinding whiteness. The violent winds, stirred by the spatial fluctuations, whipped up snow and ice, smashing towering ice mountains together, creating deafening roars as though some giant beast was hiding in the very fabric of the world, roaring in fury. The sky here was pitch black, stars could not shine through. It was a place of eternal night. However, none of this mattered to Jiang Chengxuan at this moment. His attention was entirely focused on a distant scene that filled him with grim foreboding. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of a violent rumble echoed, and in the distance, a blizzard raged across 100 miles, whipping the endless ice fog up into the sky. With Jiang Chengxuan's sharp vision, he could see ice mountains being swallowed and crushed by the blizzard. This was no mere blanket of snow, it was utter destruction. Everywhere the storm passed, the ice peaks collapsed instantly, turning into massive ice shards that crashed to the ground, causing an overwhelming mist of ice and snow to blot out the sky. Through this destruction, Jiang Chengxuan felt an ethereal presence, a true dead silence that hung over the scene. This ice plain is slowly collapsing. Jiang Chengxuan murmured under his breath, his eyes fixed on the distant blizzard. The entire scene before him was clear. This place was gradually falling apart. This was no ordinary avalanche. It was being eaten away bit by bit, about to fall into the void. A chill ran down Jiang Chengxuan's spine, and his body went tense, every hair standing on end. Now he understood the source of his lingering unease. This great calamity had taken shape in the form of this. Though Jiang Chengxuan didn't know the specifics of the force behind it, he had no doubt that this collapse was directly related to the ominous darkness that had been haunting him. Damn, what kind of power is this? Jiang Chengxuan muttered in shock, his mind reeling at the implications. The next moment, his eyes flashed with resolve. He raised his hand, manifesting his Xuan realm behind him. Voom! With a resonating hum, a dazzling and magnificent world manifested, stretching over the vast void ice plains, like a fairyland coming into being. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan stepped forward into the void, his Xuan realm flaring out, and soared toward the epicenter of the storm. No matter what, he had no room to retreat. Even if he was alone, he had to try to stop this destruction. If it spread to the heart of the Xuanming immortal domain, the consequences would be unimaginable. Jiang Chengxuan had never heard of any power capable of destroying an immortal domain. Perhaps only a golden immortal could wield such strength, but he had never encountered such a force, let alone know how to deal with it. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Chengxuan reached the collapsing area. The rumbling noise was deafening, like thunder cracking the heavens, shaking the very void itself. The icy fog, now mixed with countless ice shards, clashed together, sending sharp shrieks through the air. It was like a towering wall of ice, collapsing toward Jiang Chengxuan. Suppress! Facing the terrifying onslaught, Jiang Chengxuan pressed his two fingers together, causing his Xuan realm to erupt in a brilliant light. A solid, impenetrable barrier formed, shimmering with divine energy. Without a moment's hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan plunged into the heart of the blizzard. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, the violent storm, with ice shards flying at him, crashed into the barrier, causing a series of explosive sounds as the ice fragments shattered upon impact. The force from his Xuan realm sent the fragments scattering, breaking them into even smaller pieces of ice and snow. Steeling himself, Jiang Chengxuan pushed deeper into the heart of the storm, gradually uncovering the full scope of the collapse. There, at the edge of the destruction, cracks as dark as night stretched across the plains. They spread like the erosion of ancient rock, each piece crumbling and sinking into the void below. There was no reason for this. An immortal domain was not a fragile rock. It was a realm formed by the intertwining of numerous laws. It shouldn't crumble so easily. But here it was, before Jiang Chengxuan's eyes, an incredibly strange and unnatural sight. This was unlike anything he had ever witnessed. Even he was at a loss, unable to formulate any solution. 10,000 ages of sacred texts. Jiang Chengxuan stood still for a moment, a deep frown forming. His gaze grew more focused, and with no time to waste, he began to recite an ancient scripture, his words causing golden characters to appear within his Xuan realm. Invoke. With a command, the sacred scriptures formed into golden fish, leaping out of the Xuan realm. They transformed into a vibrant sea of gold, flowing toward the constantly collapsing void. When the golden characters reached the heart of the destruction, they fell like a silent golden rain, merging into the cracks and filling them without a sound. At that moment, the 10,000 ages of sacred texts burst forth with a powerful divine energy, seeking to seal or mend the fractures and suppress the collapse. Jiang Chengxuan's guess was that, no matter what power was causing this destruction, the 10,000 ages of sacred texts would be able to exert some influence over it. Chapter 1703, The Collapse of the Immortal Domain, Tremors in the Northern Continent Part 2. But the next moment, Jiang Chengxuan's plan fell through. He felt the power of the 10,000 ages of sacred texts flow into the cracks, but there was no response. The power disappeared as the crumbling fragments fell into the void, vanishing without a trace. Jiang Chengxuan was stunned. 10,000 ages of sacred texts merged into the collapse of the ice plains, but he didn't feel any overwhelming force. There was no ominous power. All he could sense was the natural dissolution of the Tao within the world. The laws of heaven and earth were simply fading away, and the immortal domain began to crumble. Everything was happening so naturally, as though the Xianxia immortal domain had become an old man. Its time had come, and it was now quietly dying of old age. This is impossible. But Jiang Chengxuan knew this was impossible. The Xianxia immortal domain had not yet reached the end of its lifespan. Only when a world enters the end of the Dharma era could such a collapse begin to occur. However, the Xianxia immortal domain was still filled with countless cultivators, countless immortals being born. This meant that its laws and Tao were still strong enough to support the flourishing of the immortal path. In fact, the Xianxia immortal domain was at its prime, not its twilight. There was no way it should naturally die off. For a moment, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes flickered with uncertainty, still stunned by what he had witnessed. Even though he had seen the collapse up close, he couldn't stop it, nor could he understand its cause. Everything seemed like an unsolvable mystery. I must inform everyone about this. After several failed attempts, Jiang Chengxuan's mind finally cleared, and he muttered to himself. Although he was a Xian immortal, he couldn't stop what was happening, because he didn't even know who the enemy was, or if there even was an enemy. It was like being a divine general facing the inevitability of life and death. What could he do to solve it? Jiang Chengxuan realized that the solution might lie within the Xianxia immortal domain itself. Perhaps there was something written in the texts of a certain immortal sect that could provide an answer. Vroom! Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan activated the power of his Qian realm, his figure soaring as he fled the storm. He moved through the terrifying blizzard that was tearing apart the void and arrived in a more stable space. Once there, he waved his hand, opening a spatial portal and stepped through. With the flow of space around him, he traveled thousands of miles in an instant, arriving at the northern boundary immortal city. This city was the hub of power in the northern continent, the largest force in the region. However, it didn't belong to any single immortal sect. Instead, it was jointly controlled by several sects and held a structure similar to that of a loose cultivator alliance. When Jiang Chengxuan had first joined the loose cultivator alliance, he had received a map of the Xianxia immortal domain's layout, from which he had learned a lot. He also knew that the current state of the northern continent had something to do with an old friend of his. Please send for Immortal Kai Ling. After entering the grand northern boundary immortal city, Jiang Chengxuan located the city lord's mansion with his senses. He made his identity as a senior member of the Loose Cultivator Alliance known to a disciple inside. Of course, I'll go fetch the Grand Elder right away. Hearing this, the disciple in ice-blue robe straightened up, not daring to delay. He quickly disappeared toward the depths of the palace. This was the current status of the Loose Cultivator Alliance. Anyone with such an identity would be highly respected within the Xianxia immortal domain. And with Jiang Chengxuan revealing his position as a high-ranking elder, no one dared treat him lightly. My friend, forgive me for not welcoming you properly. Soon, at the end of the hall, a familiar figure in a crimson robe slowly appeared. The familiar face was no longer as youthful as it once had been, now showing signs of age and wear. The old friend Jiang Chengxuan mentioned was Immortal Kai Ling, whom he had met in the central continent years ago. They had explored the Immortal Insect Valley together. Their last meeting had been during the first Qian Immortal Treasure competition when Jiang Chengxuan sought revenge against the Immortal Tribulation sect, which had destroyed his sect. He had entered a secret realm, unaware that he was walking into a trap. He had ended up rescuing Immortal Kai Ling, and after parting ways, they hadn't seen each other since. You're Chengxuan. Before Jiang Chengxuan could speak, Immortal Kai Ling froze when he saw him, taking a sharp breath and staring in disbelief. Jiang Chengxuan smiled softly, nodding toward his long-lost friend. It's been a long time, Kai Ling. This simple exchange caused immortal Kai Ling to tremble, his face flushed with excitement. He took several large steps toward Jiang Chengxuan, laughing loudly, his eyes filled with disbelief. For a moment, he didn't even know what to say. To him, Jiang Chengxuan was not only a close friend, but also a life-saving benefactor. Now, he was the most powerful person in the Xuanming immortal domain. The weight of all these intertwined identities left him momentarily lost. Since the destruction of the immortal tribulation sect, you seem to have regained your strength. Jiang Chengxuan continued casually, not rushing into serious matters as they reminisced. Upon hearing this, immortal Kai Ling froze, then spoke with deep emotion. Indeed, the great grudge has been avenged, all thanks to your life-saving intervention back then. Please, come into the hall, let me properly entertain you. The immortal tribulation sect, supported by ancient forces, was an immortal sect that had once caused Jiang Chengxuan a great deal of grief. In the secret realm, immortal Kai Ling had been the one to face the tribulation sect's earth immortal elders, but it was Jiang Chengxuan who had saved him. Eventually, Jiang Chengxuan and immortal Kai Ling had wiped out the immortal tribulation sect's leadership, leading to its ultimate downfall. After that, the Northern Continent forces, led by immortal Kai Ling, had overthrown the immortal tribulation sect once and for all. It had been many years since that time, and speaking of it now made both of them feel nostalgic. Your achievements now truly deserve the admiration of all. You've reached a level no one can match. You are peerless. Within the grand hall of the city lord's mansion, as they drank immortal wine and spoke of old times, they grew more familiar with each other again. Immortal Kai Ling did not hide his admiration for Jiang Chengxuan. Although he had become an earth immortal, he knew the immense gap between them. Heavy. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan sensed the right moment and stopped the idle chatter, his expression becoming more serious. Actually, the reason I've come today is to discuss something important that requires your help. Upon hearing this, immortal Kai Ling immediately became serious, his face darkening in preparation for what was to come. He nodded and signaled to Jiang Chengxuan to continue. Given his experience, he knew Jiang Chengxuan would not come all this way just for a casual visit. There must be something significant happening. The edges of the northern continent are collapsing. There may be a great calamity approaching. I hope to gather all forces to find a solution, or else the Xuanming immortal domain will be in great danger. Looking into immortal Kai Ling's eyes, Jiang Chengxuan spoke earnestly, his tone heavy with urgency. Instantly, the hall fell into a deep silence. Immortal Kai Ling's body shook with shock, his mind overwhelmed by the weight of Jiang Chengxuan's words. The heavenly calamity, these 4 words alone revealed everything. Each great calamity was bound to bring suffering to the immortal domain. Please explain everything in detail. I will act immediately. With a grave expression, immortal Kai Ling spoke. After Jiang Chengxuan explained the details, he immediately excused himself, summoning the high elders of the northern boundary immortal sect. Soon in the council hall, the immortal sect's leaders gathered, and through immortal Kai Ling, Jiang Chengxuan quickly explained the situation to everyone. The entire hall was stunned into silence, and a cold breath was drawn by everyone present. Their shock was palpable. We will immediately send word to all the immortal sects in the northern continent. Any information we receive will be reported to you without delay. Without hesitation, the elders of the northern boundary immortal sect quickly made their decisions. They knew the gravity of the situation and wasted no time in sending sealed letters to every immortal sect across the northern continent. Chapter 1704. No Solutions, Immortal Domains Calamity, Part 1. The heavenly calamity is descending, and the edge of the northern continent is collapsing, which concerns the survival of the entire immortal domain. A series of letters were written detailing Jiang Chengxuan's warnings, including the form and location of the upcoming calamity. These letters were sent from the northern boundary immortal sect to numerous other immortal sects, reaching the hands of high-ranking sect leaders all across the northern continent. This stirred an unprecedented commotion. The leaders of the immortal sects in the northern continent were shocked to the core. For a time, panic spread and various factions scrambled to verify the authenticity of the news. Some sent people on long, arduous journeys to the void ice plains, witnessing the earth-shattering scenes and terrifying anomalies for themselves. Others returned letters to the northern boundary immortal sect, questioning whether these letters truly came from them and what evidence they had. With Jiang Chengxuan's backing, the northern boundary immortal sect invoked the authority of the loose cultivator alliance. With the current power of the alliance, they were able to confirm the veracity of the news. Soon, various factions had used every means at their disposal to confirm that the calamity was real and spreading toward them. The entire northern continent fell into an unprecedented state of turmoil, with everyone in a state of panic. Many of the immortal sect leaders arrived at the northern boundary immortal sect to meet and discuss, their faces filled with worry. They were preparing to hold a conference with all the immortal sect leaders from across the northern continent to discuss countermeasures. That day, the grand immortal city was filled to the brim with leaders from all across the region, like ants on a hot pan, unable to settle down. Immortal Kai Ling, this matter concerns the survival of the northern continent. We must gather all forces in the region. The destruction continues. It's highly bizarre. We must gather any relevant information quickly. In the council hall, the sect leaders and elders from numerous immortal sects filled the room, conversing anxiously. The leaders who rarely made public appearances were now all present, their faces etched with deep concern. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan had already left the northern boundary immortal sect ahead of schedule, heading toward the eastern continent. He had a strong premonition that the collapse was not limited to the northern continent. It was likely spreading. Eastern continent. Soul-confounding stone forest. After several days of travel, Jiang Chengxuan arrived at the edge of the eastern continent. This was a vast stone forest, always shrouded in a mysterious mist. The stone peaks were both ethereal and real, formed by the eerie laws of the Tao, like illusory spirits. According to the ancient legends of the eastern continent, all lost souls eventually found their way to this forest, where they would vanish into the void and be reborn in other worlds. This is bad, just as I feared. Jiang Chengxuan's figure glowed with the brilliance of his Xuan realm as he ventured deeper into the stone forest. Not long after entering, his expression turned grim, and he murmured to himself. Boom, boom, boom. From the far distance, he could hear the rumbling sounds of destruction, like a mountain collapsing. His unease grew exponentially. And indeed, upon crossing through layers of mist, what he saw confirmed his worst fears. One after another, the ethereal stone peaks were crumbling, like flags blown over by the wind, swallowed by the surging mist. Amidst the mist, he could vaguely see countless black fissures rapidly forming and spreading across the ground. Large areas of the earth were collapsing, falling into the void, and vanishing without a trace. The situation was exactly the same as the void ice plains. The edges of this place were also collapsing ruthlessly. 10,000 ages of sacred texts activate. Witnessing this, Jiang Chengxuan wasn't about to give up. He chanted the sacred texts, summoning golden symbols that transformed into a mighty golden rain, falling toward the storm to suppress it. Under the sacred power of the 10,000 ages of sacred texts, the entire world was bathed in golden light, radiant and brilliant. But once again, just like before, nothing changed. The immortal domain continued to crumble, and the golden light fell into the endless void. As the golden glow was extinguished in the darkness, Jiang Chengxuan's expression grew even more serious, and he couldn't help but sigh softly. It seems every place is suffering the same fate. Resolutely confirming that there was no way to stop this destruction, he immediately transformed into a beam of immortal light and left the area. Soon, Jiang Chengxuan appeared in a magnificent immortal city in the eastern continent. As before, he revealed his identity and garnered attention. He had someone summon the most influential immortal sect leader in the eastern continent and informed them of the situation in the soul-confounding stone forest. He also shared all the details of the heavenly calamity and the current state of the northern continent. Yes, this is true. This immediately caused another shock. As Jiang Chengxuan's news was verified, the entire eastern continent quickly spread the information through all the major immortal sect leaders, sparking another wave of turmoil. But Jiang Chengxuan's steps didn't stop there. He continued his journey toward the southern continent. Southern continent. The edge of the southern continent was a vast wasteland. The endless desert stretched under the dimming twilight, and the yellow winds howled, causing the earth to tremble in desolation. Crossing through the endless wilderness, Jiang Chengxuan's worst fears were realized. At the horizon, he saw the yellow sands billowing, raising towering walls of dust. Thunder rumbled and echoed endlessly. Large swathes of desolate land cracked apart, turning into countless grains of sand that flowed into the dark void, falling for miles like a massive yellow waterfall. Without a doubt, the edge of the southern continent was also collapsing, and there was no way to reverse it. Chapter 1705. No Solutions, Immortal Domains Calamity, Part 2. East, south, west, north, the entire Xianxia immortal domain is heading toward destruction. What could possibly be the cause? The situation was worse than Jiang Chengxuan had imagined. The destruction had not yet reached the western continent, possibly due to the existence of the false immortal domain secret realm. However, it seemed as if some invisible hand was driving the annihilation of Xianxia, a mystery Jiang Chengxuan couldn't unravel. There was little time to think. His only course of action was to search for any clues, while ensuring that every immortal sect received the news and was prepared in advance. If the collapse continued, it would soon affect the prosperous lands of living beings, and countermeasures had to be taken. Thus, Jiang Chengxuan wasted no time. He headed straight to the southern continent, where the dominant forces resided, delivering the news as he had before, then moving on. Before returning to the western continent, he also made a stop in the central continent, summoning all the immortal sects there. Thanks to the previous celestial immortal calamity, Jiang Chengxuan had already subdued most of the major powers in the region, and so the central continent had essentially become part of the loose cultivator alliance. Jiang Chengxuan's influence was unparalleled here. Without needing anyone's help, he effortlessly gathered the various sect leaders of the region. Though the central continent had not yet shown signs of destruction, Jiang Chengxuan still delivered the news to all the immortal sect leaders there. If this calamity continues, if the destruction does not stop, all will eventually be driven to the central continent. Prepare yourselves. This was Jiang Chengxuan's message to the various sects in the central continent. In the face of such a catastrophe, the central continent might be the last refuge. Preparing ahead of time was crucial to avoid later chaos. Furthermore, the central continent had once been the most prosperous and enduring part of the Xianxia immortal domain. Many ancient texts were stored within the sects there, and if any clues existed, they were likely to be found among them. As the Celestial Lord says, we will do our utmost, we dare not be negligent. The calamity is upon us, every being in Xianxia is responsible, we must face it together, we will obey the Celestial Lord's teachings. Rest assured, Celestial Lord, I will immediately order all disciples to search the library for ancient texts. Any findings will be reported right away. The sect leaders of the central continent dared not express any dissent. They had already submitted to Jiang Chengxuan's power, and in the face of this calamity, they knew that unity was their only chance for survival. This calamity is no simple matter, prepare yourselves fully. Jiang Chengxuan's words were grave as he left the central continent, returning once again to the western continent. At that point, the entire western continent had already received Jiang Chengxuan's message, and all the factions were preparing for the calamity. Within the loose cultivator alliance, there was a flurry of activity. Disciples and elders were doing everything they could to find clues. Meanwhile, others were dispatched to the borders to evacuate as many mortals and living beings as possible into the inner regions. The devastation caused by the collapse was sweeping across the entire Xianxia immortal domain, leaving no one untouched. After much discussion, nearly every immortal sect from each region had gathered a force, composed of their leaders, to form an elite group to face the disaster. They journeyed to the regions most affected by the collapse, trying various methods to delay the destruction. They used formations, divine arts, talismans, anything they could think of, but none of their attempts succeeded. The result was always the same: failure. With Jiang Chengxuan himself unable to stop the collapse, the various sects had no chance to halt the destruction. Gradually, the entire Xianxia immortal domain became shrouded in an atmosphere of doom. The ominous clouds seemed to persist, and every moment brought more signs of disaster. Everyone was frantically searching through ancient texts and looking for any clue their ancestors might have left behind. Information was sent from all sides, eventually reaching Jiang Chengxuan's hands through the loose cultivator alliance. Day after day, the collapse continued, spreading further, now reaching areas hundreds of miles away from the border, encroaching upon lands where immortal sects had once flourished. Whether it was the barren wasteland or lush, spirit-rich mountains, the collapse showed no mercy. Entire immortal mountains and immortal rivers fell into the void, along with treasured land suffused with immortal aura. The rift spread, and soon everything crumbled away. Many cultivators saw the end of the immortal domain for the first time, the dark void swallowing everything in its path, like an enormous, silent maw. Amidst the chaos, once proud sect gates were crushed into nothingness. Their immortal peaks, which had been landmarks for generations, vanished in an instant, obliterated before anyone could react. Woo woo woo, my sect's gates, heaven is destroying me. My sect gone, my cave residence. Gone, everything's gone, all swallowed by the void, the world is going mad. Countless cultivators looked at the ruins of their once great homes, their hearts filled with grief as they wept. The current calamity was far more terrifying than the previous one. Although no immortals had perished yet, the loss was far worse. Everything lost would never be recovered. There would be no second chance to rebuild. This scene was playing out across the entire Xianxia immortal domain. The void consumed everything equally, without pause. Is there truly a way to resolve all this? Are we all doomed to perish in this void? An elder from one of the immortal sects murmured hopelessly, his eyes empty with despair. They had tried countless ways, but nothing could stop the destruction. The collapse was unstoppable. Many began to accept the inevitable, feeling that this was a doomed situation, with no escape. Useless, this method's useless too. Back in the loose cultivator alliance, Jiang Chengxuan stood deep in thought, his brows furrowed. Reports from all corners of the domain flooded in, yet none of them provided any useful clues. This calamity, this world-shattering destruction, had never been recorded in history. No one knew how to stop it. Husband. Jiang Chengxuan's exhaustion and helplessness did not escape Shen Ruyan's notice. Even after facing many life-and-death situations, he had never appeared this tired. Faced with impending annihilation, he seemed unable to find any solution. At least no one has perished yet, there must be a way. Shen Ruyan approached Jiang Chengxuan, gently brushing his forehead with her pale hand and offering a soft, comforting voice. In response, Jiang Chengxuan took her hand, slowly nodding, trying to calm his mind. Being anxious was futile. The only option now was to wait. If this was the will of Xianxia, then even a golden immortal wouldn't be able to reverse it. As the immortal domain continued its collapse, countless beings were driven into misery. The passage of time was merciless, and every moment that passed saw the destruction of yet another part of the immortal domain. The black sky of the void continued to inch closer toward the heart of the Xianxia immortal domain. Countless beings were fleeing, watching as their homelands were consumed by the darkness. The sound of crying and despair echoed throughout the Xianxia immortal domain, as immortal cities were swallowed by the void, their grand structures vanishing like fleeting dreams. If this continues, within 100 years, the entire Xianxia immortal domain will be gone. One voice spoke the chilling truth. 100 years, it was the last vestige of life for the Xianxia immortal domain. Yet even that was an optimistic estimate, for once half of the immortal domain disappeared, death would be the price of survival for the rest. Fortunately, there were Earth immortal fortresses where mortals could seek shelter, but as the collapse continued, it would soon force people into brutal conflict for survival. Many began to realize this, and in the midst of this apocalyptic sorrow, dark thoughts began to spread among the people. Chapter 1706, Ancient Rune, A Glimmer of Hope, Part 1. Report, Sect Master, the collapse has already crossed the Taiyuan mountain range. Report, the abyssal plateau has been devoured by the collapse. It has turned into a vast void. Report, the void has already consumed the area outside Immortal Crystal City. Please make a decision, City Lord. An unstoppable wave of destruction, one day after another, was slowly devouring the entire Xianxia immortal domain. Beneath the boundless black sky, the void spread like an overwhelming tide, swallowing vast expanses of land. The reports, one after another, echoed in the grand halls of countless immortal sects. As each message rang out, countless immortals turned pale with fear, lamenting the inevitable disaster. The calamity spread further, forcing countless beings and cultivators from the Xianxia immortal domain to flee, bringing all their belongings with them as they left their homelands behind. They moved toward the central continent and the western continent, the only two regions that had yet to be affected by the collapse. At the end of the sky, with tears in their eyes and despair in their hearts, the people gazed upward. In their eyes, they could only see an unrelenting black curtain pushing forward, accompanied by the terrifying storm of the void that blotted out the sun. Between the mountains and rivers of the Xianxia immortal domain, people from all over the world were forced to gather into a massive exodus. The sky and earth were filled with countless figures, even beasts from the wild. Boom, boom, boom. In the void, thunder rumbled, a sound not only caused by the fierce storm, but also by the ancient lands that had borne the lives of generations crumbling and falling into the void. Still no solution. Inside the loose cultivator alliance's sect master hall, Jiang Chengxuan, who had been watching the situation closely, let out a deep sigh. As the days passed, the void and collapse continued to spread. It seemed certain that the Xianxia immortal domain would be destroyed, and even as a profound immortal, Jiang Chengxuan found himself powerless to stop it. Unrest now covered the entire immortal domain, and even within the loose cultivator alliance, people's hearts were becoming uneasy. Is this the will of heaven? Sitting in the grand hall, Jiang Chengxuan looked up, his gaze solemn as he silently questioned the heavens. Over the past few days, he had tried countless methods, all to no avail. If the Xianxia immortal domain were to truly face its end like this, there was only one last measure he could take. That would be to use his immortal realm to take as many people as possible and send them to the ancient realm. It was the only viable solution he could think of. However, by that time, the population of Xianxia immortal domain could only be reduced to a quarter of what it once was. The remaining 3/4 would still perish in the calamity. Given the current size of his immortal realm, it was impossible to fit everyone inside. This was not the outcome Jiang Chengxuan had hoped for. The immortal realm could only serve as a desperate last resort. After this, the Xianxia immortal domain would be left with no more than a name. Is there really no way? Looking toward the distant sky, Jiang Chengxuan muttered, a surge of frustration welling up inside him. Having cultivated to the profound immortal realm, yet still being so helpless, he couldn't accept it. Just then a voice called out, interrupting his brooding thoughts. "Husband, come quickly and see this." The voice, filled with unexpected joy amidst the calamity, startled Jiang Chengxuan. The sense of delight in her voice was so rare in such a time that he was momentarily stunned. "Wife, what is it?" He immediately recognized the voice of his beloved wife, Xianxia. Her sudden excitement made his heart skip a beat, and he had an inkling that something extraordinary had happened. Tab, tab, tab. With hurried footsteps, Xianxia entered the hall, wearing a flowing scarlet robe that made her appear like a blooming flower, her beauty dazzling in the midst of the chaos. A smile brightened her face, softening Jiang Chengxuan's tension. "Husband, look at this." Xianxia stopped before him, her excitement evident as she handed over a small object. Her eagerness was contagious, and Jiang Chengxuan felt a renewed sense of hope as he took the item, his eyes shining. In her delicate white robe, she held an ancient, cracked piece of blue-tinted turtle shell, which faintly glowed with a soft light. Jiang Chengxuan immediately recognized it. It was a turtle shell fragment, old and weathered by time. Though it didn't emit any immediate special energy, there was an incredibly distant, ancient aura emanating from it. This is... His heart fluttered slightly as he took the ancient shell fragment from Xianxia's hands. As he looked closer, he noticed the intricate and winding patterns on the surface. The lines seemed like natural fissures, but Jiang Chengxuan knew they weren't just cracks, they were ancient inscriptions. In the past, he had come across some alchemical recipes written on turtle shells, though they were not as old as this one. "Husband, look closely, you'll understand." Xianxia's words were filled with hope, her excitement growing as Jiang Chengxuan's attention fully shifted to the ancient turtle shell fragment. The inscriptions on the shell were incredibly ancient. Unlike other forms of recording information, there was no immortal energy stored here. Instead, this was a record written using pictographs, an ancient form of documentation that Jiang Chengxuan had encountered in some old texts. Having read numerous ancient books, he was able to piece together some of the meaning. The inscriptions detailed an event from the ancient era. It was said that, during a certain celestial cycle, in an age of wilderness, there was a tribe that had just discovered the method of cultivation. One day, while hunting in the mountains, a member of the tribe discovered a mysterious profound light rune. As they chased down their prey, the creature was killed and fell down a cliff, landing on the very rune they had discovered. Chapter 1707, Primitive Rune, A Glimmer of Hope 2. Suddenly, the world underwent a dramatic change. Day turned to night in an instant, and the ground beneath their feet violently collapsed. A bottomless black hole appeared out of nowhere, devouring a nearby mountain. The terrifying scene caused them to flee in panic, but this was not the end. From the day the rune was activated, the black hole that appeared out of nowhere kept expanding, slowly devouring everything around it. Mountains and rivers alike were consumed completely. The world itself plunged into darkness as the black hole continued to spread. Facing this terrifying sight, the people of the tribe thought they had angered the gods. They went to the site where the rune had been discovered and performed sacrificial prayers. Soon the once trembling rune fell silent, and everything seemed to return to normal. The black hole ceased expanding. Thus, the records on the tortoise shell came to an end. It seemed like a story crafted by ancient people, and even the immortal sect that preserved this object had always treated it as a legend, used to admonish children of the clan. After all, the tortoise shell carried no energy, yet recorded such mysterious events, which seemed like exaggeration. However, after reading the records, Jiang Chengxuan, a Chinese letter Xuan immortal, felt an immense surge of excitement. His mind flashed with inspiration, as if he had received some divine revelation. "This records the event of the collapse," Jiang Chengxuan murmured, raising his head to meet Shen Ruoyan's gaze. She gently nodded, her eyes flickering with understanding. Without a doubt, the story that seemed absurd and mundane on the surface, in this time of great calamity, was enough to shock anyone. The appearance and spread of the collapse, along with the world descending into emptiness and darkness, these details aligned perfectly with the current events. The only thing that hadn't been heard of was the rune described in the records, and surely that rune might very well be the key to triggering the collapse. In an instant, Jiang Chengxuan had a sudden realization, as if all the fog in his mind had cleared. After such a long period of anxious waiting, he had finally received the crucial message. This meant that the great calamity could still be averted. The lives of the people in the Xianxia immortal domain still had a glimmer of hope. "Lady, quickly seek out all the families connected to this tortoise shell, investigate their ancient books, and focus on the runes. Gather all information related to the runes." Realizing the importance of the discovery, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes gleamed with divine light as he spoke to Shen Ruoyan. Upon hearing this, Shen Ruoyan smiled brightly and said, "Do not worry, husband. I've already sent people to do this. Let's first look through the information we have collected and see if anything is related to the runes." "Good." Without hesitation, the two immediately began searching through the various ancient books that had been gathered. This thrilling discovery gave Jiang Chengxuan confidence that the Xianxia immortal domain's fate was not yet sealed. With his power, the entire immortal sect was mobilized to search frantically for all possible leads. Immortals with immense strength, capable of shaking the heavens, now became like scholars, poring over ancient texts every day. Meanwhile, the collapse continued, slowly devouring mountains and seas, spreading an empty, boundless darkness. Amid the increasingly tense situation, even greater chaos began to arise. More and more beings and cultivators were forced to flee, crowding into limited spaces, causing inevitable conflicts to break out. At first, there were skirmishes between humans and beastkind. Hungry beasts turned on each other, fighting for survival, and some even began to secretly hunt human cultivators and mortals. This sparked numerous battles, as cultivators, already heavy-hearted and suppressed, had no patience left when faced with the beast's destruction. They immediately launched counterattacks. In an instant, the dim, oppressive world was filled with bloodshed, as cultivators and beasts clashed fiercely across the Xianxia immortal domain. And the chaos didn't end there. Since conflicts arose between humans and beasts, it was only natural that there would be human-on-human conflicts as well. During their flight, various immortal sects with deep-rooted enmities began to target each other, erupting into wars. Even unrelated sects, frustrated by their journeys, engaged in battles. As the battles raged across the land, the atmosphere of doom in the face of the great calamity seemed to intensify. It felt like a storm of war was sweeping through the immortal domain, as conflicts and battles broke out everywhere. People turned the terror and despair of the calamity into a thirst for blood, releasing their anger through ruthless slaughter. "You beasts dare! We showed mercy to you and you repay us with hostility. We have no choice but to survive. Today, either you die or I do. The mountain gates have fallen and the immortal domain will be destroyed. What's the point of living? I will kill you. HMPH, a leopard cannot change its spots. In the end, you are all traitors." Among the crowded rivers and mountains, cries of anger erupted, followed by thunderous roars as the earth shook. Countless cultivators and mortals were forced to flee in panic, and many perished in the chaos, unknowingly swept up in the carnage. No one had expected that the first major casualties in this calamity would come from internal conflicts, not the collapse itself. Or perhaps some had anticipated it, but chose not to stop it. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruoyan had no time to consider any of this. Their minds were completely focused on the vast amounts of information they had gathered. With the discovery of the mysterious rune, Jiang Chengxuan and his companions had undoubtedly uncovered a clear path forward. Finally, the long-buried records related to the collapse began to emerge. Primitive runes. At one point, Jiang Chengxuan rose from his seat, his eyes sharp and his voice ringing out. I see now, I see it clearly. Through their continued search and piecing together of information, the full picture of the collapse was finally revealed to Jiang Chengxuan. It turned out that within every immortal domain, there existed primitive runes that were born alongside the heavens and earth. These runes maintained the stability of the entire immortal domain and were intimately tied to it. If disturbed, they would trigger a terrifying collapse. But such collapses should normally restore themselves, for the primitive runes were incredibly stable and had a powerful restorative ability. However, this time the collapse didn't restore itself. Instead, it was utterly devastating. Without a doubt, some malevolent force had tampered with the primitive runes, causing this catastrophe. In this case, as long as we find the primitive runes and eliminate the influence of the malevolent force. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes gleamed with confidence as he spoke. We can suppress this great calamity. Upon hearing this, Shen Ruoyan nodded in agreement. Once they found the cause, the collapse of the immortal domain would no longer be a mystery, and there would be a way to resolve this hopeless calamity. Jiang Chengxuan's previous power had been ineffective because he had no target to fight. But now that the primitive runes were revealed, the situation was completely different. No matter what influence the malevolent force had on the primitive runes, Jiang Chengxuan was confident he could counter it. He trusted his strength was no less than that of the eerie, ominous black darkness. The primitive runes will only exist within the immortal domain. They live and die with the immortal domain and will not fall into oblivion. Jiang Chengxuan organized the information he had gathered, slowly formulating a plan in his mind. The primitive runes are elusive, almost impossible to find, but since the malevolent darkness has affected them, we can track the source of the malevolent force to find them. The collapse is still ongoing and the situation is dire. I must act immediately. After organizing all the clues, Jiang Chengxuan felt certain. His plan had taken shape. Chengxuan, you've finally come out. There are some problems outside. As Jiang Chengxuan exited the hall, the waiting Yuanhen immortal quickly reported the news of the growing unrest. Chapter 1708. Successful deduction, the four great calamities 1. The pressure from the great calamity has caused unrest across various regions. Many places are in utter chaos now. I've already sent people to stabilize the situation in the most affected areas. Do you think we should continue dispatching more people? Facing Jiang Chengxuan, who walked out of the grand hall with an easygoing demeanor, Yuanhen Immortal's face was filled with worry. After the great calamity began, Jiang Chengxuan had been immersed in searching through ancient texts within the grand hall, while the situation in the Xuanming immortal domain rested squarely on his shoulders. During this period, Yuanhen Immortal felt completely overwhelmed. Sudden conflicts had erupted across various regions, and he received one bad news after another. It was enough to drive anyone mad. If it weren't for the strict discipline of the loose cultivators, Alliance, whose authority was highly respected in the Western continent, there would have been internal chaos by now. Otherwise, Yuanhen Immortal felt that things might have been even worse. Due to the endless search for ancient texts, the loose cultivators, Alliance had sacrificed everything, and now their available forces were limited. Trying to suppress the turmoil was a matter of good intentions but little power. Thus, Yuanhen Immortal had no choice but to stand outside the grand hall, waiting for Jiang Chengxuan's appearance with a bitter expression on his face. In his heart, he knew that only Jiang Chengxuan's intervention could solve everything without a single soldier being lost. He. In contrast, Jiang Chengxuan smiled lightly, seemingly unperturbed by the chaotic situation. His demeanor made Yuanhen Immortal pause, his gaze flickering with suspicion. Could it be? Having been in a high position for many years, Yuanhen Immortal had developed some insight into human nature. Seeing Jiang Chengxuan's calmness, his heart shook as though he had thought of something. His eyes suddenly gleamed with anticipation. With that look in his eyes, Jiang Chengxuan slowly spoke. Go ahead and carry on. Recall the outside forces. The investigation into the ancient texts is no longer necessary. As soon as these words left his mouth, Yuanhen Immortal felt a jolt in his chest. His breathing grew hurried, and his eyes burned with excitement as he cried out. Chengxuan, have you already found the cause behind the calamity? Upon hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan nodded with a smile, and a wave of intense relief flooded Yuanhen Immortal's heart, almost making him dizzy, and his legs felt unsteady. Good, 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 as expected of you. Then, is there still hope for this calamity? It took a while for him to recover from the overwhelming shock. His voice was filled with anticipation as he continued asking. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes turned sharp, and his expression became solemn as he responded. As long as there is a clue, we will find a way to resolve this calamity. Xuanming is not yet doomed. Yuanhen Immortal nodded gravely, his eyes shimmering with tears of excitement. As a native cultivator of the Xuanming Immortal domain, he naturally felt an immense connection to this land. If it were destroyed in this great calamity, they would all become rootless wanderers. Furthermore, cultivators at their level had established deep ties with the world. If the heavens and earth collapsed, their cultivation would plummet, for they were intricately connected to the way of heaven. If the immortal domain were to completely collapse, even if they survived, their cultivation would never progress again. This calamity is beyond our power. The rest is in your hands, Chengxuan. The fate of all living beings in the heavens and earth is now entrusted to you. After a moment of dazed reflection, Yuanhen Immortal solemnly cupped his hands and said to Jiang Chengxuan with deep sincerity, during this great calamity, how much he wished he could help, just like when the strange tree's calamity descended, and he had worked with Jiang Chengxuan to seize the last thread of hope. But this collapse was not something they, mere mortals, could confront. They could only read ancient books like scholars and wait for their doom. This was the most hopeless part of it all, being able to watch and do nothing. After cultivating for so many years, how many times had they found themselves in such a situation, where they had no choice but to entrust their fate to others? But fortunately, that person was Jiang Chengxuan. They placed their infinite trust in him, for only he could lead them and all living beings to break through the shackles of this calamity. Yuanhen Immortal believed this in his heart with absolute conviction. Good. Feeling the weight of Yuanhen Immortal's trust, Jiang Chengxuan was also moved. He nodded firmly and said, this time, saving the Xuanming Immortal domain will be a test of my Tao heart. If successful, the opportunity will be immense. Ding! System has issued a task. Please, host, complete the achievement of subduing the 4 great primitive runes. At this very moment, a cold voice echoed in Jiang Chengxuan's mind, as though the system was confirming that he was on the right path and urging him to move forward without hesitation. In that moment, as emotion surged within him, Jiang Chengxuan felt that his Tao heart had been clarified, and the heavens and earth seemed to open up to him more widely. Without any further hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan nodded to Yuanhen Immortal and then transmitted a message to Shen Royan, instructing her to stabilize the rear within the loose cultivators' alliance. He then waved his sleeve and transformed into immortal light, leaving the area. Flying into the sky, Jiang Chengxuan's first sight was the vast, dark void spreading across the sky, and the terrifying storms that reached to the heavens and the earth, accompanied by loud thunder. Except for the western continent, the other 3 continents had already been consumed by the void to the extent of 1/5 of their territory. Within this void, Jiang Chengxuan saw countless figures, no bigger than ants scrambling in the storm, desperately seeking a place to breathe. In other places, the sky was filled with blood, indicating fierce battles between immortals and beasts. Chapter 1709. Successful deduction, the 4 great calamities too. In the face of the despairing collapse, this situation was inevitable. Within the vast immortal domain, at this moment, only he could save this world. It was an incredibly lonely position, with immense pressure. If he failed, countless beings in Xuanming would perish, and those who survived would ultimately become wanderers without roots. But fortunately, he seemed to have experienced such pressure countless times before, and it was no longer enough to break him. Without hesitation, he activated the spatial portal with a single gesture and stepped into the deep, profound light. Vroom! A humming sound resonated from the spatial fluctuations, and as Jiang Chengxuan traversed through space, he soon found himself in a familiar land. The fake immortal domain's secret realm. As expected, this is where the destruction that should have been falling the Western continent is being born. The moment he arrived in this space, Jiang Chengxuan immediately noticed distant storms wreaking havoc, a profound darkness relentlessly consuming everything in its path, spreading despair. The scene here mirrored the ongoing destruction in the Xuanming immortal domain, an all-too-familiar sight. Jiang Chengxuan had long suspected that the reason the Western continent, where the loose cultivators' alliance was located, hadn't collapsed was due to the fake immortal domain's secret realm acting as a shield. There are many dark and ominous causes here. Based on this, there's a 90% chance that this will succeed. But Jiang Chengxuan didn't stop to confirm this. He didn't come to this secret realm just to verify his suspicions. He was here to use the dark traces left behind to deduce the corrupted primal runes. Without pausing, Jiang Chengxuan moved forward, his steps taking him to the depths of the fake immortal domain's secret realm in an instant. Before him lay a battlefield in ruins, shattered space, swirling storms, and the turbulence of chaos still undulating, howling incessantly. This was the same place where Jiang Chengxuan had previously suppressed the dark, ominous forces during his first and second battle. Although after those battles no traces of the ominous darkness remained, its past presence had left countless karmic ties behind. With his deductive abilities, Jiang Chengxuan could use these karmic ties and the primal runes connection to achieve his goal. It's been a long time since I last used this. I wonder if I've grown rusty. Taking out a compass from his robe, Jiang Chengxuan muttered to himself, his gaze as deep as water. Since his breakthrough to the Earth immortal realm, he had rarely used his deduction methods. His own senses were usually enough to avoid danger and turn misfortune into fortune. But now he needed to rely on these methods again, to calculate a more precise path forward. His thoughts stirred, and Jiang Chengxuan quickly awakened the powers of his heavenly calamity deduction technique, feeling the vast interconnections of cause and effect. This is a major matter, so I must be cautious. However, the next moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly retracted the power of cause and effect, not yet starting the deduction. Despite the urgency of the calamity, Jiang Chengxuan knew that he must remain calm and steady, not rushing the process. Without hurrying, he manifested his immortal realm and pointed a finger forward. Immortal light flowed out from the realm, twisting like a dragon, shining brightly. Standing in the void, Jiang Chengxuan seemed like an artist, using his finger as a brush to paint grand strokes. The immortal light, like ink, spread in the direction of his finger, leaving brilliant traces in the air. Soon, the immortal lights interwoven to form a massive formation, with intricate totemic patterns. A hazy aura swirled through the air, and spiritual energy fluctuated. This was an auxiliary formation, not of low rank. It had come from fragments of the immortal realm within the fake immortal domain's secret realm, one of the treasures of the heavenly immortals. Once the formation was complete, Jiang Chengxuan felt the pull of cause and effect from the invisible forces. He no longer needed to activate the heavenly calamity deduction, as his intuitive powers reached their peak. In the hazy moments, it seemed as though he could see black threads interweaving in the void, faintly visible. These were the traces of karmic cause left by the ominous darkness. Sacrifice. However, this was not the end. Jiang Chengxuan, seated within the grand array, continued to offer a few more treasures, placing them in specific positions within the formation where they began to burn brightly. This further enhanced the power of the formation, raising it by about 30%. Then, Jiang Chengxuan calmly manifested his immortal realm, sitting cross-legged in the center of the formation. The deductive compass was placed in front of him, gently vibrating. This item had been refined by Shen Ruoyan long ago, able to bear the weight of this cause and effect. Now everything was ready. Open! Seated within the formation, Jiang Chengxuan summoned the 9 Miao Bodhi lotus lamp, hanging it above his head. Immortal energy poured into the lamp, and a powerful aura immediately exploded from it, then was channeled back into Jiang Chengxuan's body. Vroom, vroom. In an instant, the wind and clouds gathered, and the brilliant 9-colored immortal light shot into the sky, illuminating the entire world. Jiang Chengxuan was enveloped in a glow, with 9-colored immortal flames burning fiercely all around him. His body seemed to undergo a fiery transformation, inch by inch turning into glass, transparent and pure. With the strange hum of the immortal realm, Jiang Chengxuan closed his eyes, yet the entire world became crystal clear in his mind, laid out before him, every detail in perfect clarity. What was different, however, was that he could now see countless lines of light crisscrossing, chaotic like a tangled mess of threads. They divided the scene in front of him, like a mirror reflecting an endless array of strange phenomena. In a single glance, Jiang Chengxuan felt as though he could see the vast expanse of the entire world, with massive amounts of information rushing into his mind. Now he had to calm his thoughts, focus, and carefully analyze the intricate web of cause and effect. This was bound to be a long process, and it could not be interrupted. He had to remember every change in this moment, or else everything would start over and he would have to begin again. But at this moment, time was Jiang Chengxuan's greatest enemy. He could not afford to waste even a second, and thus, he had to act with the resolve to succeed in one fell swoop. This might be a long process, but it could also be incredibly quick. Everything depended on a single moment. Under the weight of countless thoughts and pressures, Jiang Chengxuan's mind gradually became calm, his heart as still as water, and he let go of all distractions. He grasped a glimmer of insight in his heart and followed it, extending it further and further. He paid no heed to where the path would lead, nor the changes around him, focusing entirely on the task at hand. As time ticked away, the world seemed to stand still. Finally, at a certain point, the wind and clouds suddenly shifted, and with that, Jiang Chengxuan opened his eyes, his gaze sharp as lightning. In an instant, he didn't see the scene before him. Instead, through the countless layers of cause and effect, he saw 4 groups of dark light gathering in the vastness of the world. These were 4 ancient, mysterious runes, faintly visible, exuding an astonishing aura. There was no doubt, these were the 4 primal runes Jiang Chengxuan had been searching for. However, surrounding them were 4 calamities: lightning strike, fire burn, freezing wound, and poison wound. These were the 4 most terrifying punishments for living beings, the purest manifestations of destruction and death in the world. Whoosh! With a flash, the wild winds howled and Jiang Chengxuan's eyes glimmered. The storm in the sky calmed. The dark light that had covered the entire world quickly dimmed. The formation in the void slowly faded, and the many items used for the deduction turned to ashes. Even the deductive compass in his hand seemed to have aged through countless years, becoming dark and faded. But there was no time to think about this. Jiang Chengxuan rose, carrying the immortal realm on his back, his gaze heavy. Without a doubt, this deduction had succeeded. He had pinpointed the location of the primal runes. But this was only the first challenge. Under the corruption of the ominous darkness, the place where the primal runes resided had already become a place of unimaginable danger, danger enough to kill even an immortal. And before the entire Xuanming immortal domain was consumed by the collapse, he had to act quickly to capture all 4 primal runes and restore them to their original state. The challenges ahead were immense, and the task seemed nearly impossible, filling him with a sense of despair. Chapter 17:10, The Thunderous Disaster and the Seal of the Xuan Realm Part 1. No matter the time or the situation, it could be said that everything was against Jiang Chengxuan. He was alone, facing it all by himself. Behind him, the masses could only look up to him, trapped in disaster, engulfed in the fire and water of calamity. In this, Jiang Chengxuan stood in the void, gazing far into the distance, where a storm was sweeping across the world. The entire pseudo-immortal domain was still collapsing, and the void of darkness seemed to be pulling down the curtain on the entire universe. Challenge? I suppose it's fine to face one every now and then. Feeling the calm in his heart, Jiang Chengxuan spoke slowly, his tone indifferent. In the face of great matters, one must maintain a peaceful mind. Only then can one succeed in all endeavors. This was the principle Jiang Chengxuan had always firmly believed in. No matter what kind of desperate situation one faces, one must not give up first, or failure is inevitable. Buzz. The brief moment of finding joy in hardship passed, and Jiang Chengxuan gathered all his scattered thoughts, his expression turning solemn and serious. In the next instant, he waved his hand, and vast immortal energy swept through the space, rippling with layers upon layers of waves. A gate to the immortal realm slowly opened, exuding a mystical light, with spiritual energy suffusing the surroundings. Within it, Jiang Chengxuan kept the faint sense of cause and effect that connected him to the unknown deep in his heart. The essence of a Xuan immortal crossed millions of miles, chasing the faintest of presences. Soon the light became more brilliant, and the silver radiance swallowed the entire world, as though everything was coated with a layer of silver, dazzling in its brilliance. When the immortal gate finally opened completely, a chaotic surge of energy flooded out, emanating a sense of destruction that trembled through the entire gate, as if it could collapse and be destroyed at any moment. This was undoubtedly going to be a perilous journey, one that would deter any faint-hearted person before it even began. However, Jiang Chengxuan's determination had already been solidified. Without hesitation, he stepped directly into the portal. In an instant, the frenzied force of space tangled around him, turning into waves that pushed his figure forward at an astonishing speed, moving thousands of miles in a moment. Boom, boom. But at this very moment, from the depths of the void, thunder rumbled and lightning erupted. Suddenly, from the turbulent rift in the space ahead, massive bolts of lightning, like venomous snakes, shot out and filled Jiang Chengxuan's field of vision. Clearly, this was an attack from the corrupted original runes, which, upon detecting the threat, seized the initiative and struck out toward Jiang Chengxuan. Xuan realm open. Upon seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes hardened, and his nerves were strung taut as he reacted swiftly. He gave a violent shake of his body, and the vast image of the Xuan realm manifested behind him, releasing a burst of immortal energy. Boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, countless bolts of lightning easily pierced through the chaotic force of space and slammed into the Xuan realm, causing a violent tremor and thunderous explosions. These sudden lightning strikes were no ordinary attack. It seemed they did not belong to this realm and carried an overwhelming destructive power. As the lightning struck the barrier of the Xuan realm, it did not bounce off, but instead, like a parasite, clung to it tightly, twisting and erupting in a frenzy, launching countless lightning strikes in an instant. With this wave of impact, the entire spatial passageway began to shake violently. The silver space energy was obliterated, revealing vast emptiness on the brink of collapse. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes became sharp, sensing the impending danger. However, in the face of this near disaster, he showed no fear and made a bold move. Within the trembling spatial passage, he immediately activated his immortal energy, unleashing the formidable power of a mid-Xuan immortal to strike forward with great force. In the deafening thunder, whether it was the chaos, the thunder, or the unstable space forces, they were all forcefully suppressed, clearing a dark and deep path. Do you think you can stop me with this? In the next moment, brimming with battle intent, Jiang Chengxuan's Xuan realm behind him trembled as its power surged, and it collided toward the newly opened path, shaking off the numerous destructive bolts of lightning and spatial fluctuations. Facing life and death. In this crucial moment, there was no possibility of retreat. The only solution to this crisis was to keep charging forward. If he chose to fight, then the only result within this spatial passageway would be the collapse of the tunnel, either falling into the void or being transported to an unknown place. However, retreat was not an option. In the current situation, wasting even a moment of time would be an immeasurable loss. Thus, in an instant, Jiang Chengxuan made up his mind to forcefully break through this ominous and dark barrier. This decision also turned out to be a clever move. Before the ominous and strange thunder could fully erupt, Jiang Chengxuan had already taken the chance to charge forward. Before him lay endless darkness, but Jiang Chengxuan's gaze remained resolute, his figure unwavering, until the sound of the thunder behind him gradually faded. Buzz! In the blink of an eye, light appeared at the end of the passage. The aura of destruction became increasingly intense. As the silhouette of the immortal gate emerged, the spatial passageway behind Jiang Chengxuan could no longer bear the pressure and collapsed with a loud bang. The space stretched across thousands of miles, shattered inch by inch. The terrifying fluctuation stirred the heavens, raising towering waves as if the very sky was falling apart. With the powerful impact propelling him forward, Jiang Chengxuan was shot out like a cannonball, landing in a completely new world. This was an incredibly vast realm with nothing in sight, shrouded in a hazy, illusory atmosphere. The only thing that illuminated the surroundings was an extraordinarily brilliant deep blue light, bathing everything in its glow. The air was thick with heat and the scent of destruction. Chapter 17:11. thunder calamity, and the sealing of the mysterious realm. Crackle, crackle. The dense sound of lightning tearing through the air echoed continuously as fine strands of thunderous light, like dust, scattered across every inch of space. The surroundings were deathly silent, with the countless lightning fragments floating in the air, illuminated clearly by the radiant glow, forming a vast, star-like pattern. In nature, lightning is a force that erupts in an instant, yet in this realm it was condensed into droplets, drifting endlessly. However, if anything were to touch these floating thunder fragments, it would trigger a chain reaction, unleashing a terrifying wave of destruction. Boom! A scorching bolt of lightning streaked through the void, carrying an aura of absolute annihilation. Before Jiang Chengxuan's eyes, the entire world suddenly lit up as a shocking spectacle unfolded. A forest of deep blue bamboo materialized out of thin air, rooted in the heavens. The bamboo, translucent like glass, had roots formed entirely from countless interwoven lightning currents. Each tall and slender stalk was composed of lifeless thunder, as if an artist had used lightning as ink to paint this breathtakingly vivid and realistic masterpiece. Yet beneath its magnificence, Jiang Chengxuan sensed an ominous aura of death. The vast spread of lightning-infused bamboo continued to expand, quickly filling his entire field of vision, ancient, boundless, and imposing. The power of corrupted primordial runes. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze grew heavier, his voice solemn. These lightning phenomena were not mere illusions, they carried the breath of life. They were indistinguishable from reality, separated by only the thinnest of boundaries. Such power was akin to the force of creation itself, something even Jiang Chengxuan had yet to attain. Only the legendary primordial runes were capable of manifesting such phenomena. Whoosh! Suddenly, violent winds howled, causing the lightning bamboo forest around him to tremble wildly. Every rustling bamboo leaf sparked with dazzling energy and thunder. Boom! At that moment, the entire sky was ignited by the thunderous catastrophe. Endless waves of blazing lightning surged, blotting out the heavens. The dazzling light was so intense that even Jiang Chengxuan struggled to keep his eyes open. Then, in the next instant, countless lightning-formed bamboo stalks collapsed toward him like a storm of spears. A cascade of lightning like a celestial tsunami crashed down in relentless waves, aiming to pierce him through. The sheer annihilating force sent chills down Jiang Chengxuan's spine. As the foundation of the Xunaming immortal domain, the primordial runes were of a higher order than even the power of a heavenly immortal. Moreover, since they were intrinsically linked to the entire domain, they subtly suppressed Jiang Chengxuan's Tao laws. He could feel it, within his own mysterious realm, whenever he tried to summon the powers of the five elements, reincarnation, or life and death, there was an inexplicable sluggishness and weight. Because of this, his reaction was a fraction too slow. The descending thunderstorm left him no choice but to unleash his immortal treasure, transforming into a streak of divine light, darting through the gaps before the lightning bamboo could fully merge. Barely avoiding certain death. Primal chaos sword of creation rise. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan unleashed his primal chaos sword of creation, a blade that had recently ascended to a higher tier, now possessing the might of a supreme artifact. With a single stroke, the sword extended 10,000 meters, streaking across the sky like a river of starlight. The slash tore through the heavens, severing everything in its path. The millions of descending thunder bamboos were instantly split in two. Boom! The terrifying force struck the empty air, causing an earth-shattering thunderclap. Yet the assault did not cease. Like torrential rain, wave after wave of divine thunder continued crashing down upon him. Slash, slash, slash. Jiang Chengxuan did not retreat. His sword danced, leaving afterimages as it transformed into a radiant purple-gold sun, shattering and severing every lightning strike that came his way. The primal chaos sword of creation, empowered by its supreme artifact status, did not falter beneath the relentless thunder calamity runes. It cut through countless lightning attacks without dimming in the slightest. Gradually, the endless lightning bamboo forest was reduced to nothingness, and silence once again reigned over the battlefield. Only the scattered embers of lightning flickered eerily, resembling ghostly flames. But this was far from over. Deep within the void, a sinister force began gathering once more. Tiny lightning fragments started to converge, forming intricate patterns. In an instant, an enormous totem materialized, enveloping the entire sky and earth. At the center of this grand and complex pattern, a cluster of shimmering, mystical light emerged, a simple yet ancient primordial rune, radiating the profound truths of all existence. This was the original rune that had existed since the birth of the Xianxia immortal domain, a core essence of the universe itself. Even with Jiang Chengxuan's level of cultivation, he could not fully comprehend its laws. However, his eyes narrowed as he noticed something unusual. The primordial rune was covered in grotesque lightning scars, resembling eerie roots burrowing deep into the earth, as if they were siphoning away its essence. Jiang Chengxuan's heart clenched. There was no doubt that this was the corruption of ominous darkness infecting the primordial rune. "Let me set you free." Muttering under his breath, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze sharpened. Without hesitation, he wielded his primal chaos sword of creation, tearing open space itself as he slashed toward the primordial rune. At the same time, his mysterious realm erupted behind him, expanding like a supernova, sending waves of immense immortal energy skyward. Yet in that exact moment, the eerie totem reacted. As Jiang Chengxuan's mysterious realm expanded, the totem suddenly contracted, like an enormous hand clamping shut. It latched tightly onto his realm, compressing it in an instant. A numbing sensation washed over Jiang Chengxuan. To his shock, his mysterious realm was being forcibly compressed, its vast domain shrinking rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the once expansive realm was reduced to a mere human-sized sphere. A chilling realization struck him. His immortal energy had been drastically drained. Hiss! Jiang Chengxuan inhaled sharply. The Thunder Calamity rune could actually seal his mysterious realm. For a mysterious immortal, the realm was their greatest weapon. Without it, many divine abilities became unusable, and even their fundamental immortal energy was severely weakened. Yet there was no turning back now. Jiang Chengxuan had already reached the primordial rune. Retreat was not an option. With gritted teeth, he channeled his remaining power, pushing the primal chaos sword of creation to its limits and swinging with all his might. Boom! But at that very moment, the ominous darkness retaliated. A deafening thunderclap erupted as a multitude of visions materialized between Jiang Chengxuan and his target. Majestic thunder beasts roared. Warriors wielding lightning-forged weapons emerged. Endless thunder-infused flora stretched across the battlefield. All surged toward Jiang Chengxuan. Forced to divert his attack, he swung his sword once more, cleaving through the incoming thunder calamity manifestations. One after another, they shattered into strange, pure lightning essence, spilling onto the ground like glowing blood. Yet the primordial rune, fueled by the domain's power, continued to generate new manifestations with ease. Meanwhile, Jiang Chengxuan, his mysterious realm sealed, could only unleash a mere fraction of his true strength. His reserves were depleting rapidly, as though he had been trapped in a desert for millennia. And in the midst of the raging thunder sea, a dragon was caged in shallow waters, stripped of its freedom. Chapter 17:12. Suppressing the Thunder Calamity, A Couple United Part 1. The place where Jiang Chengxuan stood had quickly turned into a vast and unfathomable sea of lightning. Countless liquid-like bolts of thunder nearly submerged him entirely in their violent radiance. The limited, immortal energy he could harness was only enough to maintain the barrier around him. Faced with the relentless onslaught of various thunder-formed phantoms, Jiang Chengxuan had no choice but to continuously swing the primordial Hengmeng sword, slicing through the torrents of heavenly brilliance. Meanwhile, in another part of the Xianxia immortal domain, an immense thunderstorm was brewing in the previously silent heavens and earth. Thick, torrential lightning bolts, as vast as floodwaters, cascaded down ceaselessly from the burning sky. The impact of these divine thunders struck the ground, splitting mountains and cleaving through gold and stone. This scene left countless creatures and cultivators residing there bewildered and terrified. From this thunderstorm, they could feel an aura of utter destruction, sending chills through their souls. Arawowoyar. A massive beast, hidden deep within the mountains, was struck by the lightning. It let out a mournful wail, its towering form stiffening as it turned pitch black before collapsing to the ground, its fur burning inch by inch. This was a creature possessing immortal-level power, yet it was slain instantly by this thunderstorm. The sight left countless onlookers gasping in horror. However, before they could react further, the thunderstorm, having reached its peak, erupted completely. An endless downpour of divine lightning rained from the sky, indiscriminately striking everything beneath the thunderclouds. Argh. Run, this isn't an ordinary storm. Flee this place immediately. The heavens are blind. Why send such a calamity upon innocent people? In an instant, the world was engulfed in boundless lightning, and everything was bathed in a radiant glow. All living beings caught within the storm, both mortals and beasts, fled frantically, scrambling for survival. Yet under the relentless wrath of the storm, many creatures were soon reduced to charred corpses, their bodies incinerated by the divine flames. Within mere moments, this once peaceful land had turned into a barren wasteland, devoid of life. These unfortunate souls had barely escaped the collapse of the immortal domain, only to perish again in a calamity spawned from its downfall. What's going on? 100 miles away, a graceful figure in white furrowed her brows and muttered to herself. She had just left the loose cultivator alliance, intending to mediate a conflict elsewhere, when she stumbled upon this catastrophic thunderstorm. This woman was none other than Xianxia. As a cultivator specializing in lightning techniques, she was intimately familiar with all forms of thunder in the world. However, the aura of this particular storm made even her feel uneasy. It resembled tribulation lightning, but with an inexplicable, eerie quality. Without hesitation, Xianxia swept her sleeve, transforming into a streak of lightning as she dashed toward the storm. Boom! As she neared the raging thunderstorm, her expression grew more solemn. But upon witnessing the struggling beings within the storm, she wasted no time. She intervened immediately. Behind her, a domain of 9-colored divine lightning manifested, filled with towering thunder peaks and surging lightning seas, radiating dazzling celestial brilliance. With a gentle wave of her snow-white hand, the 9-fold lightning tribulation sword shot forward, unleashing torrents of divine thunder in 9 radiant colors. These thunderous torrents surged directly into the blazing storm above. Instantly, 2 violent forces of destruction clashed, sending shockwaves through the skies. The deafening explosion rattled the void, forcing countless beings to collapse to the ground in fear. Fortunately, Xianxia's intervention disrupted the rampaging storm. The lightning that had been lashing outward recoiled and began converging toward her instead. Thus, a battle of lightning erupted across the heavens. Countless manifestations of thunder clashed, filling the sky with chaotic energy. The fabric of space twisted and fragmented, giving rise to chaotic primordial voids. All of you leave at once, do not delay. Xianxia's cool, authoritative voice resonated across the storm, cutting through the deafening thunder like a blade. An expert is aiding us, run. Thank you, immortal lady, for saving our lives. We're saved, quickly run, thank you, senior. Realizing their chance, the terrified survivors scrambled to their feet, tears streaming down their faces as they rushed away, shouting their gratitude. Soon, only Xianxia remained within the raging storm, surrounded by utter devastation. As the battle intensified, she unleashed her full strength, revealing the formidable power of a mid-stage celestial immortal. She gradually realized that this thunderstorm was not ordinary. It possessed enough destructive force to threaten even a celestial immortal. This level of power was extremely rare in the Xianxia immortal domain. Could it be, my husband is here? A vague sense of intuition stirred within her. As she continued to fight, a possibility surfaced in her mind. This calamity might be related to the Great Tribulation and her husband, Xianxia. Then allow me to suppress you. Determined, Xianxia steeled herself. Summoning her heavenly source power, countless plane projections materialized behind her, resonating with the boundless void. Myriad Transformation Palm. This was an ancient divine ability from the primordial realm, once wielded by ancient celestial immortals. In Xianxia's hands, this technique had been honed to perfection. As her palms struck forth, the very fabric of existence trembled. The terrifying might of this attack crushed space itself, shattering it inch by inch. Though the thunderstorm was vast, within the grasp of her divine technique, it could still be suppressed. Chapter 17:13. Suppressing the Thunder Catastrophe, A United Couple Part 2. Rumble. At the same time, within the space of the primordial rune, the boundless sea of thunder suddenly came to a halt. Xianxia's heart stirred with an inexplicable sense of familiarity. My lady. In that moment, he sensed Xianxia's presence elsewhere, locked in battle with the power of the thunder catastrophe. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes sharpened, and his battle spirit surged. Sensing the opportunity, he resolved not to hold back any longer and roared. Nine mystic Bodhi lotus lantern, arise. With a flip of his right hand, a nine-colored lotus lantern appeared in his palm, slowly rotating. He immediately released this golden immortal artifact into the void, where its 9 lotus petals gradually bloomed. A phantom Bodhi tree swayed within, unleashing a vast and boundless power that surged into his body. The suppression on his inner realm immediately weakened, and torrents of immortal energy flooded his physique once more. Jiang Chengxuan had never felt such exhilaration. No longer holding back, he transitioned from defense to offense. Wielding the primeval chaos sword, he swept aside the sea of lightning. The condensed purple-gold radiance slashed forward in a devastating strike. The 9 mystic Bodhi lotus lantern was immensely powerful, essentially acting as Jiang Chengxuan's secondary domain. At this moment, he had fully restored his peak combat state, his mid-stage profound immortal strength surging to its limits. Even in the ancient realm, such strength was enough to earn renown and dominate a region. Freed from the restrictions that had shackled his inner realm, nothing could stand in his way. Almost simultaneously in the outside world, Shen Ruyan and Jiang Chengxuan, though separated in space, moved in perfect synchronization. With unwavering resolve, they channeled their terrifying power into the thunderous void, eyes filled with unyielding determination. With one synchronized slash they struck. Rumble! 2 separate battlefields were engulfed in a dazzling brilliance. Scorching, violent forces threatened to melt space itself. The skies were filled with thunderbolts, interwoven like an intricate web, shattering everything in their path and unleashing their full destructive power. That is, the primordial rune. As they cut into the very depths of the thunder catastrophe, a projection of a primordial rune appeared before them. Their expressions turned solemn as they unleashed their respective suppression techniques. Shenru encountered violence with violence, summoning countless chains forged from divine lightning within her inner world. These chains pierced through layers of twisted space and stabbed directly into the semi-illusory rune. Instantly, the projection of the rune was tightly bound, triggering an outpouring of thunderous power that violently clashed against the chains, causing them to tremble intensely. It was a contest of raw elemental power, pure lightning devouring lightning, a battle of sheer destruction. Jiang Chengxuan, on the other hand, invoked the 10,000 lifetimes holy scriptures, manifesting countless golden sacred runes. These runes transformed into thousands of golden needles, piercing through the gaps in the lightning and striking the corrupted core of the primordial rune. In the end, he had chosen this method because of its innate suppression against unholy darkness. As expected, the moment the golden needles penetrated the rune, they clashed violently with the sinister black lightning scars upon it. Golden ripples spread outward from each needle, causing the entire rune to shine with resplendent radiance. The corrupted energy retaliated, attempting to expel the golden needles. However, Jiang Chengxuan had anticipated this. With a mere thought, he redirected the surging lightning into the void, neutralizing its force. Explosions of thunder erupted like deadly fireworks, an awe-inspiring yet perilous sight. Amidst this spectacle, eerie black smoke began to rise from the needles. Jiang Chengxuan immediately sensed a weakening in the aura of destruction permeating the air. Seeing this, he poured more energy into the 9 mystic Bodhi lotus lantern, pushing the holy scriptures, golden needles, to their limit. The dark lightning scars on the primordial rune were gradually purified, invigorating Jiang Chengxuan's determination as he focused entirely on this tug-of-war. At a certain moment, the void erupted with one final surge of thunderous power, striking toward Jiang Chengxuan's back. It was the very totem that had once sealed his inner realm. But now, with the thunder catastrophe at its last gasp, Jiang Chengxuan simply activated his liberated domain. The thunderous force was immediately absorbed and suppressed. Buzz! At that moment, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan heard a deep, resonant hum. Brilliant celestial radiance erupted around them, dispelling the aura of destruction and filling the space with a newfound vitality. This was the original power of the primordial rune, now finally unshackled. Bathed in this divine energy, a sense of profound tranquility filled their hearts, while a surge of enlightenment and purification seeped into their beings, elevating their cultivation. After what felt like an eternity, they awoke. The battlefield was now completely silent. Before Jiang Chengxuan, The primordial rune had vanished. It's done. For a moment he hesitated, but there was no regret, only a profound sense of calm. His primary goal had never been to claim the rune, but to cleanse its corruption. That mission was complete. Even better, his cultivation had advanced significantly, an unexpected boon. Yet as he adjusted his breath, he discovered something astonishing. Within his inner world, a mystical celestial mountain had appeared, its peak bearing an ancient, esoteric rune. At first, Jiang Chengxuan was startled, but then joy blossomed across his face. It seemed the primordial rune had acknowledged him after all. A good start, but this is only the beginning. Regaining his composure, he murmured to himself. There were still 3 more primordial runes awaiting purification. Meanwhile, in the Xianxia immortal domain, the crisis of collapse continued, leaving no time for hesitation. Beloved husband, have I been of any help to you? Standing high above the heavens, Shen Ruyan's celestial beauty was peerless as she gazed at the sky, whispering softly. After suppressing the thunder catastrophe, her cultivation had stabilized immensely. Even more astonishing, within her inner world of lightning, a new, domineering thunder force had emerged, one as fearsome as heaven's tribulation lightning, enough to threaten heavenly immortals. To her, a lightning cultivator, this was the greatest of rewards, akin to acquiring a supreme divine treasure. Yet what she cared for most was Jiang Chengxuan's safety. During the battle, she had clearly felt their connection deepen. But there was no time for sentiment. Far in the distance, the realm continued to crumble. Shaking off her distractions, she transformed into a divine streak of light and rushed to her next battlefield. Across the Xianxia immortal domain, elders and disciples of the loose cultivator alliance had already dispersed, working to quell conflicts and suppress the chaos. The great calamity was beyond their control, but they labored tirelessly, awaiting Jiang Chengxuan's light of salvation. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan, sensing his wife's silent concern, wasted no time. Summoning a spatial gateway, he visualized the next primordial rune's location in his mind. As the gateway solidified, he stepped inside. Propelled by the violent forces of space, he advanced alone toward yet another perilous battlefield. In the immortal domain, the collapse raged on.